Hello and welcome back to Beers with Buds. I'm your host, Andrew Freedman, the Cannabis Sommelier. Today I'm joined by my very good bud, Adam. Adam all day, Adam all dabbed out, small music, small beats, the man with a million aliases, but I just know him as my good friend Adam. How are you today, Adam?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me down to do this. This is awesome.
Well, thanks for being here. It's great to talk to exciting, interesting people, and every time we get together we have such great conversations, and I knew you were a natural candidate for the podcast. So thanks for coming to drink some beers with me and maybe have some buds.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's funny, we've been friends for a couple of years, but I actually haven't really hung out with you too much. But the less than 10 times we've hung out, I've always left feeling inspired. So I feel it's nice to be back here. I wish you didn't live 40 minutes away.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to live in suburbia land, basically outside of the city, so that I could have enough space to have the studio. But the price we pay. Thanks for making the trip. I promise I won't get you too drunk, or I'll definitely feed you a bunch before I send you home.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So why don't you just tell everybody, well, I'll give you a little bit of intro and you can fill in the blanks.
Sure.
So Adam is a music producer / DJ / entertainer / serial idea maker, serial entrepreneur. You just are in so many, you have your hands in so many different music collectives, and you have such a great idea about networking, and your music is fucking awesome. Like, you make really cool music. That's how we first met. I was in the Calgary music scene. I wanted to find other people making good tunes, and you were making the really awesome music. So yeah, tell people about your music, tell people about the kind of tunes you make, where you play, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I wear many hats. I'll go back a couple steps and kind of say, I guess, what I'm doing here.
Yeah, please, because I have no idea. I'm just rambling on.
Yeah. So I have my own artist branding, so Small Beats, and I make lots of different bass music. And I've just actually split my projects up because I enjoy making lo-fi beats as well, which is something kind of you and my friend Chris, No Idea, kind of turned me on to as like a good way to express myself. So I have that project as well launching up right now. I run Do You Digital, which is a nonprofit label based here in Calgary. Every year we strive to do a fundraiser and donate some money. So the last 2 years we've done that. And kind of coinciding with that, I've just started doing teaching assistant with Legacy Children's Foundation, where we try to lead Calgary's youth between 16 and 24 with music into better decisions and whatnot. And beyond the music, or actually, no, there's more music stuff.
Yeah, more music.
Oh my God. So I got picked up by Cirque du Louis, which is a performance entity in town that is kind of like Cirque du Soleil over bass music, which is super rad. So I do a lot of sound engineering and design as well as DJing for them. And that's been really cool. I had a TED Talks feature with them. And this year in April, they will be doing their signature show at the Palace, which I will be a part of. And there's local designers creating costumes, local musicians like myself creating music content and whatnot. It's going to be spectacular.
Those events are incredible, and they sell out. So if you are in Calgary, get your tickets for that as soon as they're available.
Yeah, they really are incredible, and I'm not biased because I work for them and are part of this thing. It's the first time I ever went to one. I think it was at the old Vinyl, believe it or not, which was Night Owl, and now is Greta Bar.
Where I'm going this afternoon.
Yeah, crazy. And the first time I walked in there and seen the place decked out, I'll never forget it. I nearly fell over. There was people performing in different corners of the bar. It was just like a club experience that I've never experienced before, and they've taken that to the Palace and grown quite a bit. Now there's, these incredibly talented artists hanging from the ceiling and dancing and spinning and there's people being shot out of cannons. It's just nuts.
I need to honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I need to bring the Cirque du Louis people into some of these dinners. I want to bring that experience into into an atmosphere, because it's incredible, and when you get those amazing performers, it's mind-blowing. Okay, so keep talking about yourself, because you got a million other things.
Oh my God, what else do I do for music? I teach music lessons online, internationally, and from my house for people based in Calgary and the surrounding area. As far as that goes, that's kind of my music endeavors. I've been working a lot with some US labels, Rapture Studios, one in particular. Those guys have been so supportive. It's been crazy meeting people over the internet and, considering these people like best friends and trustworthy, and I've never even met them.
Right.
But this year I will be, but we'll get into that later. I think that's all for music. As I have this other side of me where I am like kind of consumed with like plants and produce, vegetables, and everything. I worked for Loblaws for 12 years, and I sold over $150 million of produce with them. But now I'm helping this independent local grocer in Bowness called the Bonesian Grocer, and it's like it's really fulfilling because the company we go for zero loss, and like a crazy percentage of the assortment in the store is local. Like I'm produce specific, and we have people in Auburn Bay growing produce in their garages, like these urban farms, and we support them. And it's gnarly because these people are growing, packaging, deliver, come to the store, meet them face to face, and they're like, this is my product, I grow it here, I love it, I believe in it. And it really,
they've got a herb grow up in their garage.
A herb, a micro herb,
a micro grow.
Yeah, micro grow, but not the special kind.
That's crazy. How does a product like that actually get? How is that I'm just kind of confused.
How is it
how
like
it's regulated?
Regulated and legal, right?
Legal,
just like weed. It's you got to get. This is really interesting. I asked this about Lean Mean Microgreens is the one that we are currently stocking. And
shout out to Lean Mean Microgreens.
Yeah, and she's awesome. She said that her daughter came home with some pea shoots or something and was really interested. They grew them at school or something, and she's like, you know what? I wanna work from home, and I wanna like do this with my daughter and like grow pea shoots in my garage because we are currently heating a car that my son doesn't even drive. Like, what's the point? Like, let's grow some vegetables. It was that easy. She's like, okay, well, the idea was that easy, and then we went to do it, and there's all these licenses and stuff. But the city can set people up to grow these things in their garage.
That's mind blowing.
Basil, microgreens, like whatever you could possibly think, I guess.
How is it so hard to sell cannabis then? That's just mind blowing that the city is like, yeah, you can grow anything you want in your garage and sell it to a store for people to eat, but you can't. Wow, that's crazy.
You know what the funny thing about that is? I think it's usually cannabis, like nobody's gonna die smoking it. But and I don't want to say this about any other produce, but I mean there's E. coli and everything. Like there's still a risk of like dying if you're eating stuff. Not saying any of the producers that we support would ever do anything wrong to introduce those pathogens or something. But like, what's the difference?
That's a food reality,
cannabis
though, of anybody.
Or food. I mean, you can eat both of them. You can it's so weird. Like. I don't know why it's not just easier.
Well, it's interesting to think that a lot of there's very little barrier to entry to get into those businesses. As I learn, about the prepackaged non-alcoholic drink world. It seems like as long as there's not an intoxicant in it, it's not an intoxicant, it's very easy to sell a product. And it brings me back to something my good buddy Mario Fabri said on episode number 2. If you can find something you are good at and something you're passionate about and figure out how it adds value to people, you've won. You have a business. All you need is a little bit of patience. And I love that because this woman was like, yeah, I'm passionate about working with my daughter and I'm good at growing veggies. And
she'd never grown veggies before.
Wow.
She's like, I went on YouTube and just this is like the craziest thing.
YouTube University.
She went on YouTube, figured it out, and she's like, it's been trial and error and just like a lot of passion. And her product is fantastic. We have a chef at the store that has over 25 years experience, and she was at the store doing a demo a couple weeks ago. He's like, I need to meet her. Like, these things last for weeks. Like, we would get them in the restaurants. They would go bad after a week. And I've noticed that personally with alfalfa sprouts.
Okay.
And other sprouted greens, and hers last for a couple weeks, and the quality is still pristine. I had some in my fridge for an entire month, man. Like, so he's like, I need to figure this out. Like, how is she doing it? Well, she learned on YouTube, and she's only a year in, and she's already creating a product. And I think it's just because she cares so much that she's putting so much passion. And when it's not right, she's like, she won't sell it to me. She's like, these didn't sprout the way I wanted to, and I feel like they should be better. So you're gonna have to wait a couple days, and I'll get the best product I can to you.
That's legit.
It's gnarly, man. Like, being resourceful, and I've noticed, like, you've been resourceful. I'm self-taught on Ableton. I've been resourceful. You just like figure it out, and then you make like these like long-lasting connections in your brain. Somebody opposed to being like, you got to make the attack on this compressor 25 milliseconds and the release 80. Well, that's one set. That's a single recipe. That's like making butter chicken and being like, add this much, this much, this much there. But when you like start making the connections yourself, you can tweak them to your own preference. And if you're putting the passion in, your preferences like a high standard, a high quality. You get to tweak those things until you reach it.
Totally learn on the job. That's crazy. You teach Ableton lessons and you're self-taught at Ableton.
Yeah.
You're mastering. Like, I know lots of people come to you for mastering. And for the people that are listening that aren't in the music industry, mastering is when you've compiled a bunch of sounds, but they're just kind of a smorgasbord of sounds. You have to create layers of frequencies so that those sounds come out correctly and you can hear the depth of the layers. And you do an incredible job at that. Like, you're still, these are mysteries that I don't understand how you've self-taught yourself that. But you have great music theory in your background. You're a classically trained pianist, right? And that was something you really enjoyed.
Yeah, totally. The funny thing about that and the theory is I actually fought the theory in classical piano, and the reason why I didn't get pushed when, like, let's go back a bit. When I was about 8, 9, I was playing at a university level, and I was trying to go through the conservatory, but that part of it is like knowing the theory, writing these tests, and I literally was like, fuck this shit.
Well,
I was like,
kid.
I want to play this, like I was learning, I love Beethoven, and I was like on the third movement of Moonlight Sonata, and I just would not follow the instructions. That classical music is like, it was written this way, this is how I want it, you play it exactly. But I was like, I love Beethoven, I love the keys that he writes, and I love the way it's written, and I want my own interpretation of this. And my piano teacher was like, no, and I finally was just like,
screw you, fuck you,
fuck this, I'm done.
And that's why you write music now.
And that's why I write music now, because I can do whatever I want. And like, yeah, there's people telling me no and this and whatever, and I mean, I've realized it's all subjective, and I just take the pieces that I feel make me better, and the pieces that don't make me feel better, it's like I just disregard. And sometimes they come from a good place, and sometimes they come from people just not knowing what the fuck they're talking about anyways.
Oh, yeah.
And that comes to who you send it to. Like, would I send a heavy bass track to somebody that makes tropical house? Like, no, that's retarded. That doesn't make any sense.
Pick your audience, set and setting. I talk about it in anything.
Yeah, totally. So I have like a group of people that I send my music to that I respect. They make good music. I want my music to sound as good, or whatever the objective piece is, and then I get objective criticism back that I can work back into my progression.
Who are some of your good go-tos that you can plug in right now that you like, artists you like that people should check out on SoundCloud?
Oh man,
and are in your group,
I don't want to miss anybody here. So I network a lot with one of the, I guess, like manager owner dudes of Rapture Studios, Visive. His name's Tim. He's been a huge support, and we've like bounced ideas back. And the nice thing about somebody like that is like we don't hide anything from each other. Like if I have that information, there's no price to it. There's no, if I give you this, you give me, it's just like, oh man, here's this new thing I found. I think you would benefit from it. And it's just like constantly
collaboration.
Like that. Yeah. My friend Johan Omnist down in Texas, Vector Black Carl, Alabama. The one that I bounced, like, I don't know why I didn't start with this one. Dude, my roommate, Ting, Roberto.
Oh, I didn't know you live with Roberto.
Yeah. Like,
what a great guy.
We literally like bounce ideas and like just like not even necessarily musical ideas, but like abstract ideas around like branding and networking and philosophy, like honestly 24/7. It's like a never ending thing. And like I trust him to let me know like what he thinks of the music or whatever, and like we've been growing back and forth like this. Like last year I got in touch with Kursa, and he's like, one of the most important things was like finding a mate to like bounce ideas off of and like work with, repost each other's tunes, support each other, work together, and it can't be something forced. I wouldn't go do that with a tropical house DJ. Yeah, like we're making similar music, we've got similar vibes, morals, ambitions, whatever. And that's been really good. There's so many other people, and I've like definitely missed a lot. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Those are good. Those are good people. The networking thing is huge, right? Like you said, you have a lot of friends over the internet. I meet a lot of people over the internet. Like, how important is just like creating a dialogue with anybody and everybody?
It's the most important thing, because a lot of smart, passionate entrepreneurs like ourselves, like you'd be happy to give information to people, right? Like I am. I
send a message to every single person who follows me on Instagram.
Same, man. That's the thing. Anybody that adds me on Facebook, I message them and I say, hey, what's up? Thanks for the ad. Like, what's going on? Are you a creator? What do you? And it's so easy. These are people just like you, and they are coming to me.
I had a crazy conversation this morning. I gotta tell you. I gotta jump in. Somebody followed me on Instagram, and then I went and liked them back on LinkedIn. set up a call, and it's somebody that plugs brands in Hollywood movies and on the red carpet and with celebrities.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a world I never thought about for cannabis marketing. And now I have this connection to put cannabis in George Clooney's hand if I wanted to.
And this is the thing. I had a thought about this recently. Like, people talk about, not everybody, some people I've seen fail because they get in their heads, they're scared to network, they get one decline, something idea, and then they're like, oh, woe is me. Or like, they a lot of people wish. This is why people buy lottery tickets. Like, I don't know, no offense. If
I buy one every week, yeah.
Do you? Fuck, man.
I'm an addicted gambler, though. I talk about these stories.
It's whatever. But like the idea of like wishing for something better, and like I feel like it can be like obviously you're not wishing for something better. We're here doing this thing, and like you're making your dreams happen. So like this is
disregard me in this.
Disregard
in this
him,
example.
and if you're making your dreams happen and playing the lottery, cool. But just like as a society, I feel like a lot of people wish for things, and they think, man, that's small. You know, they'll see me in 5 years, and they'll be like, oh, that guy made it overnight, and he was in the right place at the right time. No, I was ready to intercept the opportunities. Like you said, what if you didn't message that person? That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
there's a missed opportunity, and all it came down to. And what if they messaged you, said "fuck you"? Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? The next. Like let's get the next whatever opportunity. And it's not about being in the right place at the right time. It's about like being ready to intercept these opportunities and like expanding your awareness. Like for years I focused on my ego and my brand without really having I need to create a musical product or like an idea to sell to people. And for years I was trying to sell something that didn't exist and just selling my ego. And I see that happening with a lot of art, like young artists. So like making kind of crappy beats, and that's fine, everybody does in the beginning, but they're like really putting all their effort into like selling those and promoting them and spending $100 on artwork, and it's like nobody wants it. It's like until you would buy that product yourself by not knowing that who made it for $1 or whatever it is, then you're not ready to sell that. And like
no, they should be showcasing their brand and showing people how bad they were to start and releasing content
just
constantly.
Showing their progress. That's the best way to start, is like, hey guys, I'm progressing, and like reaching out to like people at your level. Like when you start producing, do you reach out to Bass Nectar? No, it doesn't make any sense.
But Bass Nectar downloaded your tune.
Yeah. Now, but like in the beginning, if like it's like, how do you get that connection, right? It takes a long time.
Well, the music and the product has to be good enough to make that connection. If in your world, especially in the music world, because
when you're selling the shitty product, at least have it be wholesome. So some of these seeds of intention that I plan don't pay off for a year, and I'm starting to see it. This guy is looking to book me for a music festival in Maine, and this has transpired into like a 2-week tour. And the reason why I was like, you know, how did you end up finding me? He's like, dude, he's like, you don't remember? He's like, a year ago I was planning for some sets, and you sent me some music, and he like, you know, this is not like. Not the greatest, I know that, but he's like, you were so nice and like ambitious, and he's like, I've watched your progress since, and here you are a year later, and he's like let's do it. Like people want to see you. He's like, I'll give you a good slot Saturday night. Like,
respect.
Like and I would never have thought that. And the thing is, it's like when I initially sent it, the intention behind it was literally just to spread my ideas and be like, yo, like give me some feedback. Like I'm really working on this. Like all feedback is good. Like I want it. And it's not like, don't give me bad feedback. Like I don't care, man. If you had said it sucked, it would have been fine, dude. Like thank you. Like cool. Like
I wish more people had said my music sucked. This is something that blows my mind, because I listen back to a lot of my music and I'm like, wow, I made a lot of bad music. Me and Adam met through music on the internet, because I had never actually met you in person. And I reached out on Instagram when I used to have my DFangs account, and that's how we got together our first time.
Yeah.
But I wish more people had said my music sucked, because I would have worked a lot harder instead of pumping out more music.
Yeah, totally. It's really important, like when people are just like, yo, this, but it's nice when you have the people that can offer a solution too. They're like, okay, this is not right. Your drums aren't poking through. Like you need to turn up the volume.
There's a collab tune we wrote together like 2 years ago that I still really love. Like I love that track. The synth line I wrote to it is just heat, and it's like such a interesting combination of you and me. And I want to finish that track up.
That'd be gnarly.
Yeah, or you know, even we should maybe I'll just release it with this, and I'll put out at the bottom of the podcast a private link to the SoundCloud. If you want to hear it. You can hear the unmastered old version at the tail end of my music career, and when Adam all dabbed out was figuring out his place and how to create it. But I love what you're saying about the network. Your network is your net worth. if you're not ready to like create those relationships and then seize those outlier opportunities, you're not going to be able to propel yourself to that next level. Like people think I talk about this, I don't have much of a place, but people think entrepreneurship is super easy. It's trendy right now. Like, oh, I can just do this. I had said at the start of the Cannabis Sommelier that I wouldn't make $1 from this for 2 years. And now I'm fortunate enough to have created revenue streams, but not revenue streams that are like constant enough for me to feel totally comfortable like I would have at the job I just left.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited and I'm so happy. And the days where everything falls apart, didn't even feel like a good day working for somebody else. It felt better.
Yeah.
Like does that make sense? Like the worst day is still better than a good day working for somebody else.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, you know, when I worked for Loblaws, I was selling about $15 million on average of produce a year, and like I'm like anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million.
And that's
in
no
flowers.
small feat, because you were very like they were looking at you like, how are you selling so much produce? And it's because you cared about the product.
Yeah, we had good numbers and cohesive teams, and it like literally goes back to networking with my staff in there and like getting to know them. And I employed the same techniques that I do now, but I've like lost my train of thought on that one.
It's interesting to hear that it's a culmination of all the skills you take through all the jobs you have in life that kind of amalgamate to creating a great person. It's taking that risk and taking that plunge that really puts you in a different place.
And this is really funny because it's completely random. My girlfriend owns a blinds company, so she does custom blinds for new houses. Mm-hmm. And she always talked about referrals, right? Like getting referrals from these customers. Like it's almost a guaranteed sale. So if I get a referral, the percentage rate of them buying is like 90%. But when I go deliver a flyer or get a lead, like the percentage of follow through with the sale is like less. And I've made that, I've incorporated this with blinds, like so random compared to music, into like my networking. Is like, will these people refer my music to their friends? And that's something that's like really important. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to like the tropical house. Like, would I send my music to people that like tropical house? They're not going to refer it. So don't put any energy into that. So I try to figure out what people like, what they're into, and then send them specific music that they would refer. And that's it ends up being like exponential, because if I start really getting into these people's brains, then they refer it. And then, you know, maybe 25 friends see it, but of those 25, 5 refer, 5 spread it out to another 300. Of the 300, you know, 100 refer. And it just becomes bigger and bigger until the point where, you know, okay, I've got 10,000 referrals, and of the 10,000, 1,000 will buy. There's $1,000 in my pocket from one song. Yeah.
And on the macro, it's crazy to think, like somebody told me that they watch my videos with their friends, and they like with the cannabis and wine pairing, craft beer pairing, they were like getting the things after, and they would try like last week's as they watched this week's. And it occurred to me that people were sharing this experience with their friends, and I would never see the analytics of them on the macro sharing it with their network.
But those are the best.
Those are the most important people.
You can't pay for that.
No,
like, there's not that needs to be a natural thing that comes from like your heart and like just like people enjoying your content.
It's like when I talk about your music, I love, you know, you're one of my favorite people that's close to me that makes awesome tunes. And so I get to talk about you authentically a lot, and I think that makes a sale. It's like when you're trying on a shirt in the store, and the salesman's been pitching you, and he's finally left, and then some random guy is like, "Yeah, it actually looks really good," and you're like, "Okay, sold." I don't know. I wish there was somebody who was a planted like fake shopper to just tell people like, "Oh yeah, this product's actually great. I have one at home."
You know, honestly, if there was a clothing store and having somebody in regular clothing that doesn't necessarily represent the brand of the clothing store and walking around giving people compliments would probably increase their sales.
Guaranteed. That's actually it's a
great idea.
Yeah.
Just like a regular Joe. You know what I mean?
Peak
just
hours.
Like, yo, hey, you look... Trying that on. Yeah, you look really great. And
I have one of these at home. This is great.
Yeah.
Just thought I should say that.
Yeah, the power of suggestion. Yeah.
Honestly, it sells me every time. If I'm in a store and I'm holding something, looking it back and forth, and some random dude's like, "Yeah, da 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 da," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fine." If random Joe Schmo was ready to tell me about it, and it's funny because I'm Joe Schmo constantly. Like I walk into stores and I just start pitching people on stuff that I've already bought or I like know something about, and it always makes the sale. So, anyways, I'm gonna sell you on this beer that I have.
Okay, sick.
So we have Hursare Ud Brun Ale Brun Acidiole. I'm saying it with an Italian accent, but it's French. This is like it's from Quebec. It's a Quebec beer. It's like I feel like it's made by monks. Les Trois Mousquetaires. The Three Musketeers. I know that part in French. It's so funny. We see French every day, but I can't read any of it because we're Canadian, and it's legally has to be on every single package. But it's a strong beer, and it was done in oak, and it says the flavors are vinous, so winey, oaky, dark malts, and balsamic vinegar. Belgian-inspired brown ale aged in oak barrels with a flora of acidifying bacteria and Brettanomyces yeast. So let me break down that super nerdy description for you because that was huge. So Belgian-inspired. It's going to be Belgian yeast to inoculate everything going on. Brown ale because
what does inoculate? I don't know.
Start the fermentation.
Okay.
Then it's going to be a brown ale. So the malt, the grain has been toasted, and that's how you get a dark beer versus a light beer. Is you're just toasting the malt. Aged in oak barrels. We all get that. They started in oak barrels. With flora, and flora is a yeast that is present in sherry, and it sits on the top and creates like a layer so that oxidization can and can't happen inside of it. Very specific taste of flora with acidifying bacteria. So it took that strong malty beer, and they're trying to make it like really like pump up that acid because they wanted to age it. And then Brettanomyces is something that is like an enemy in winemaking. It's actually a dirty yeast that if there's too much of it creates almost like a band-aidy smell and flavor, but it's very popular in like souring beers, and it's a present flavor in like a lot of things, but it's only if you're like a super nerd would you ever like understand what Brett tastes like.
Interesting. So when you say sour beers, it's something that I just got onto this last summer. Because we own a food truck and serve at this brewery in town called Zero Issue Brewery, and they had a sour beer. Is this a sour beer?
Well, we're gonna have to taste it, but I kind of think from reading the description that yes, this is a sour brown ale.
Cool.
I wish I had known that you're into sour beers because I have a lot of sour beers.
I'm not into it. I've actually never tried it, but they had a big barrel and they're like, "Oh, we're making this sour beer and it's going to be ready." At this point.
They use Belgian hops as well, Perel and Mittelfru, and then they got 100% Quebec Pilsner malt. Right on. They say serve it at 14 degrees. It's definitely a little bit colder than that, but a lot of beer that's like castle temperature. That's cellar temperature.
I remember being in London a few years ago and all the beer was served like, I'm going to say piss warm, but that's an exaggeration. But I remember it being warmer and honestly not enjoying it just for the simple fact that I guess all my life, when I grew up in PEI, we just opened the door and stuffed it into the snow that was blocking us from like leaving the house. So I like my beer cold.
Well, cold beer, it's hard. It's kind of like cold wine. A lot of people think that they need to drink white wine cold, but that's just because they're drinking bad wine or beer because the cold covers up the flavor.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
AGD, like we just had, is great, really cold, but as soon as it gets warm, it's pretty gross. Coors Light, why do you think they put that mountain on it to make sure that you get it extra chilled? Because it is god awful when it's warm.
It
is a sour brown ale. It says it right on the front. Oud Bruin. And it says 3 to 5 years age. Date of production was in 07/2018. So I'm a little under the age, and it's only 7% alcohol. Interesting. Let's pop this open. It's corked.
It looks really nice.
It's like a $30 to $35 beer I think I paid.
Oh my god, man. What a treat. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad I get to share these things with my good friends because it's cool. Not a lot of people get into this super nerdy beer world.
I definitely don't know as much as you do, but I really enjoy beer. And me and my girlfriend were picking up some beers the other day, and we'll get like some AGDs or something, right? And then I always look at these bottles, but I usually don't go past about 12 or 11, like $12-13 is kind of my top out. But this looks like it's gonna be a treat.
Well, we'll see. The gentleman that sold to me, I got this at Oak and Vine in Calgary, and he said it tastes like a sour cherry Coke. The bottle is beautiful.
Yes.
Like they've really put a lot of attention to detail on the bottle. It's all, the curves are beautiful, and I've got this beautiful
the color's really nice too.
And I got the right receptacle for it too. I have the Belgian glass, and the head looks great. Color looks great. I'm sold on the beer here. That one's for you. And then I want to cheers too before we start drinking.
Yeah, for sure.
But maybe you want to smell it and describe the smells you smell. Oh,
that first smell was dank, chocolatey.
I smell like almost fermented apples in the room right now. It's crazy.
Now that's like the first, it's like, yeah, I'm getting like apple, sour, like.
Oh, that is a beer nerd beer. Holy, this is going to be sour. I can just tell from the smell of it, it's going to be so sour.
Dude.
It smells like, okay, do you want to give more flavor examples, or should I start diving in?
I think you should, man. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so it smells like a super underripe Bing cherry juice that has been poured into like a flat Coke. And then there's this like really specific acidity behind it, almost like you are eating an underripe blackberry, but that acid, the almost kind of bitter acid that's exploding on the back of your palate, is the smell that I'm smelling on top. Past that, I think there's just like that chocolateness that you talked about, but it's more like a cacao nib, and
like an acidic chocolate,
acidic and bitter, not like a processed.
Not
chocolate.
not like a Cadbury milk chocolate or something. Yeah,
no, it's like the raw. It's like the raw nib, and that's about where I'm at on the smell. Should we taste it? Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers
to the beers. Cheers to the beers and everybody who loves them. Thanks for coming on Beers with Buds.
Man, that's crazy.
Wow. Whew. So I love that it's a brown ale, because actually the maltiness cuts through the sour. This beer would be way too acidic if it didn't have that brown malt in it.
Man, there's like a lot of dimension to the flavor. It's like I get that as I put it up to my like mouth and my nose, I get that like cocoa nib thing, and then it's like this like almost like candy like.
Mm-hmm. It's like sour cherry blasters with a bitter cacao nib, with maybe like you ate like a little bit of hot chocolate powder and sipped a Coke Slurpee that had melted.
Man, like if you had poured this in the glass and I didn't know it was a beer, I would never have thought that this was a beer. I didn't know beer could taste like this.
That's cool.
This is incredible.
And that's why I love talking about like these really craft beers, because there's such a great place for beers in fine dining that are often missed. And wine doesn't always have to be that pairing. If you're a beer guy, there are crazy beers from all around the world that taste like such.
Yeah, I can see this being paired with food, and it's when I usually go to a restaurant and get wine, because it like when I drink beer, and especially the last couple of years for some reason, it makes me very bloated, and this like almost instantly, like if I like have a couple drinks, I'm like immediately bloated. I don't feel like this is gonna have that effect.
I think you might be surprised.
Oh God!
Because the sour beers actually don't do great with my gut. Like, what I like about them is kind of plays on what you mentioned, is I can't drink them super fast. Like, this is definitely a sipping beer for me.
Yes.
Not I'm not gonna have another bottle of this.
No.
No. But for the moment, it's delicious, and it's unique, and it's exciting.
It smells nice. It smells nice in here. You open the bottle, it smells different.
It definitely does. Terpenes, those are those terps, and I talk about this constantly, like the parallels between cannabis, beer, wine, cocktail.
Dude, basil, the New Leaf Basil guys in Auburn Bay, he talks about the terpenes in the basil too, and he said it's very similar to cannabis.
Yep.
It's like gnarly.
Those basil terps are loud. Actually, I want you to set me up so that I can do a cocktail, because I have I don't want to talk about what it is just yet, because I want to debut it and not have anybody swoop me in. But I need you to get me some of his basil because I want to plug his company and I want to cocktail with it.
These guys are super active. The sales guy, Clayton,
I can just buy it at Bonetian, I guess.
For sure, you can buy it at Bonesian. I'll hook you up with them online. They're very interested in any sort of like advertising and collaboration with people.
Cool.
And like, I've been selling basil for the last 15 years here in Calgary, and this stuff is like absolutely the best.
Wow.
When he came in and made the sales pitch, and if it's okay if we go on a tangent here.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
He came in and he's like, hey, I'm selling basil, whatever. And I'm like, look, we already have like a family business that's selling basil, and it was great. Good basil. There's nothing wrong with it. Genovese basil, great. And he's like, this basil is more consistent. The veins in the stems are larger because of our system and whatever. And he's like, it's going to last for 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, buddy. So he's like, here's 3 packages. I'm going to leave. And we had a nice conversation. We nerded out on produce. It was cool. Good guy. Let me see if your products, right? So I went on vacation for a week, left it on the counter, which you're supposed to. You never put basil in the fridge. If you do, you're doing it wrong.
Pro tip. Leave the basil on the counter.
Yeah, not under 15 degrees. So I left it there. Came back 2 weeks later. It's fine. It was fine.
What?
So we put it on some pizza. No, that's wrong. We didn't put it on pizza first. I made some spaghetti squash with basil in it. Like pretty basic and man, so good. Since I made some walnut pestos and stuff, and this like it's so good, man. Like
so it lasted the 2 weeks, no problem.
Last 2 weeks, doesn't brown up. Super fresh. The smell, I guess the terpenes or whatever that comes through, man. When you open that package, you get hit in the, like slapped by it.
And then the flavonoids are when you taste it. So the terps are the smell and the flavonoids are the taste.
Learning all these new words today.
I love talking about terpenes and flavonoids. I say it all the time. Cannabis and wine are the same thing.
But yeah, how cool, man. They have an urban farm in Auburn Bay as well.
In a garage.
So they're not that far away from you, growing in a garage. And what they're going to be doing is building these pods in like a warehouse. I guess they're 700 square feet, and they can produce 24,000 pounds of basil in this vertical grow op a year. It's 24,000 pounds from 700 square feet. It's I guess the owner, the visionary, whatever, Ryan, has like a background in engineering and like robotics, AI, and he programs this thing to monitor the atmosphere and everything, and it can switch the phosphorus, nitrogen. Like,
it's just like growing cannabis.
Forgive me, new leaf basil, if I'm like representing this wrong, but it's insane how the room can react to make sure that this plant has the most stabilized, clean environment.
And are they doing it in shipping containers, did you say?
I think I haven't seen it yet, and I guess
but I know that's a big move, is growing in shipping containers.
I think that's what, from what I've seen, it kind of looks like, but I don't want to just say shipping containers because I know that they've expressed that it's very clean and monitored, and it's like cleaner than organic basil or like whatever. So I don't want to say it's shipping containers.
Cleaner than organic. That's like a big statement.
Well, organic is not that clean, I guess because of the soil, right? You can introduce other pathogens. Like these like hydroponic growers don't use pesticides or anything. And the only reason why, when you think of organic, you think of like no pesticides, traditional farming. When you think of hydroponic, like I immediately think of the water table. But people and the average person is not thinking that they control all the nutrients. And the only reason why hydroponic is not organic is because it's not grown in soil.
I want to go on a tangent about this right now.
Sure.
So as stuff is rooted in the ground, like if a vineyard may be certified organic, but everyone around them is not certified organic, and they're literally spraying foliar sprays that are carried in the wind. They're putting stuff in the soil, and you share a water table. Hydroponics, you create your own water table. Mm-hmm. In organic growing, biodynamic, any of those very deep rooted agricultural cultures are still taking all of the crap from the water table. Yeah,
like as I understand, like nutrients in apples, like 70 years ago in the 1970s for a specific example, had far more nutrition because the ground was more fertile. And if we continue farming the way we are now, the ground is going to be dead.
So the fruit is still there.
It's there, but it has less nutrition. It's less dense in the vital things that make it healthy for you. So moving to hydroponics, they can inject with this artificial intelligence the perfect amount of phosphorus, nitrogen, whatever that's needed, and make sure that there's no pathogens introduced into the environment. And you can get like to grow 24,000 pounds of basil in 700 square foot footprint is like nuts. Like I've seen vertical lettuce farms in Japan and everything, and you get more produce out of a square footage, and you use less water, right? Like how much water in these grape fields, like, or whatever, the basil field is like not even going to the plant, right? Like you can use like 90% less water, 75% less water, and that is going to be a very valuable commodity in the next 20 years, in my opinion. It's going to be who has fresh water.
That's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. Like, I keep saying that wine will become illegal in the next decade because it's an extreme luxury item, and it takes 500 liters of water to make 1 liter of wine through cleaning and irrigation and absolutely everything. So why are we planting more vineyards when there's a water crisis? South Africa shut off the water last summer, and but there's still some water being moved to vineyards, and because they shut off it in Johannesburg in the city center, but vineyards were still able to operate. And at what point does wine become extremely expensive, an extreme luxury item because of a water crisis?
Yeah. What about when water becomes a luxury item and we don't have a right to it anymore? That's a thing.
I think I started talking about this.
Oh God, this is a big conversation.
Well, it blows my mind. I think I went on a rant about this actually on the episode that came out today. Is that that asshole Trump wants to spend all this money on a fucking border wall? You know how quickly people would have given him $5.6 billion if he was like, yeah, we're gonna desalinify the ocean and we're gonna figure out how to make salt water drinkable water. Like, why is there not more conversation about the extreme funding going to that? But there's all this propaganda and media storm about the shortage of water. But we have tons of water. We have smart people that are just not being funded.
Israel's doing it.
Well, that's because the good Israelis, okay? My Jew boys.
Because they're fucking smart. They're like, we know that we need water. This is important. We need to desalinate the ocean.
Bro, think about all the plight the Jews had until they ended up in Israel.
Yeah.
They're walking through that ocean. Moses is parting the Red Sea.
They don't got Moses anymore.
They're parched. No, they got scientists. They got real life Jews trying to make that
and I mean,
wine into water.
Israel was some of the, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, you would know more, but they were one of the first countries really to push the medical boundary on cannabis. Is that true?
They are the staple for medical cannabis in the world.
There you go. Desalination medical cannabis, like, maybe I'm biased or something, but I still feel like those two things are probably up there with the importance and, like, you know, the use of cannabis in general, from like food to oil to bioplastics to hempcrete to anything, man. Like to medicine alone. Like,
I'm almost positive it was an Israeli doctor that discovered cannabinoids and that there was THC and CBD, and that was in like 1968.
Yeah. I mean, we could go into the Nixon era and the DEA creation of 1971, and, you know, there was reports from scientists saying, hey, this attacks cancer cells, and they said, well, let's patent it because we can't do this with a plant. They couldn't get the patent, so they demonized it.
Thailand, the prime minister just said that anybody with a patent, they're trying to like revoke patents on plant medicines because you shouldn't be able to patent a plant, which is brilliant. My buddy, I just met with a great doctor, Dr. Dale Hutchinson, and he's doing some amazing progressive research. He's literally putting like rosin and shatter and fresh frozen versus live rosin onto cancer cells and seeing what's happening. Man,
it's amazing. You know, I have you know, my own issues. I have extreme ADHD, and I use cannabis to help me focus. And like, even that alone, I feel like I honestly wouldn't live such a good life if it wasn't for this. And the ADHD was to a point a few years ago where I was actually self-medicating with cocaine. And for those people that don't know, ADHD is usually treated with amphetamines, which is uppers. Cocaine is an upper as well. And I was using it about seven times a week, 7 days a week. All day.
So Adam was a cocaine addict.
So here's the interesting thing about this is I wasn't always using cocaine to party. This was cocaine used to like do laundry, to answer emails, to live my basic life. And I actually got a prescription for marijuana. And I've been smoking weed since I was 13, but I've never looked at it and perceived it as medicine. I've heard about it, but not in my own, like, my own case study.
Yeah.
And she was like, the doctor was like, tell me about your life. And I was like, I'm going to be honest. I'm like, using cocaine. Here are my ambitions. This is what I want to do. And cocaine's helped me focus. But it's, as we all know, not sustainable. Years of cocaine use lead to paranoia, delusions. You're not really perceiving reality correctly. And she's like, you have ADHD. She's like, this is clear. You've told me your life story. What you're saying is, do you have ADHD? She's like, you need to start smoking sativas. She's like, try to smoke some daytime weed, and like, it will help you focus.
Bold fucking statement.
And this is not a weed consulting or something. She was a medical doctor. She had practiced for 35 years, and the reason why she got out of it, excuse me, I'm gonna.
Yeah, just have a sip on that quick.
Okay.
Just a 15-second interruption, so you can have some focus. Perfect.
Oh, delicious. So she was treating a kid with, I want to say epilepsy or something, and he was on some benzos or whatever those are that they...
Like the antidepressants?
Something.
Benzos are antidepressants.
Yeah, like I think
was he on
like Xanax
medicine?
and stuff like this is in the same category. And she's like, coming off them after years of use is very dangerous. Like if you come off, the withdrawal is more dangerous than the heroin. You can seize and die.
Yeah.
And she's like, the other MD that was she's like, I was providing him with cannabis to relieve his seizures or whatever. And he was providing the other pharmaceuticals. And he pulled the kid off with no warning because he didn't want to work with somebody that was dealing with cannabis. And the kid seized and died. And she said that she's done with this. She's like, this is fucked up. She's like, the medical industry is fucked up. And I'm going to support cannabis with all my heart because... And I'm not saying all pharmaceuticals don't work. Like... you got diabetes, like, you need insulin. Like, there's certain things you need. Hey, we all still need Tylenol, whatever, sometimes. Like, it's fine. But cannabis does play a huge part. And anyways, I really believed her. And she also said something that was, like, really strange at the time. She's like, have you ever tried ayahuasca? Now, I had some deep-rooted issues.
Progressive doctor.
So, growing up... I didn't have a good family life.
So your family doctor that asked this?
No. This is a doctor here in Alberta. And I was like, I have not. And she's like, well, there's some science. This is about 2 years ago. She's like, there's some science out there right now where psilocybin taken about quarterly is helping people with depression. She's like, as you go through your depression, as you come off cocaine, you're going to have some really depleted dopamine. And she's like, you're going to need some like, recoup here. So started taking mushrooms quarterly, and I'd done them before, again, like cannabis, with the intention to get high and have a good time, not to like heal and manage certain depression or mental illnesses. And it started to help. And then I was lucky enough to come across some DMT, which for the listeners don't know, that's the active ingredient in ayahuasca. And what I did is I smoked it every single day for a month straight. Wow. When I go in fully, whether it's music, food, plants, whatever. Like I go to the
full
fullest
send,
extent.
no
full
breaks.
Send. And then afterwards, I totally broke my ego and everything, and I had some crazy experiences.
You experienced ego death?
I experienced a severe ego death. Like
okay.
I rebranded. I started meeting people that were like positive. And it just like spiraled into control out of there. Like, usually things spiral out of control. Things started spiraling into control. Like almost like pieces of my life were like coming back and starting to function together. And within about 4 months of that, I had stopped using cocaine and smoking cigarettes.
Fantastic.
Cold turkey, no problem. It didn't make sense anymore. It was like the gnarliest thing to observe in myself. I'm able to really sit outside myself and be critical of my actions. Not 100% of the time. Nobody is. If you were... like you'd kind of be like almost like a god or something.
Self-awareness is a superpower.
But being like it was gnarly, man. I'm almost 2 years clean of this shit, and like I had like cigarettes trip me out. They're not like I just see them for what they are. They're useless. They waste your money and they ruin your health. Mm-hmm. And that is like an absolute fact. And if you think any differently, you're kidding yourself. So anybody addicted to smoking is really just not aware of what's going on. And people play it as another, well, I needed it to break, blah, 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 but like whatever. It's bad for you. And if you could realize that, you could spend your time and money on something else. I told my old boss, she was training me at Calgary Co-op, but she would keep me there hours later, and she would smoke about 10 times every day. And I don't take breaks. I eat very quickly. I need about 20 minutes every day to shit, piss, and eat, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
At an 8-hour, 10-hour shift, whatever. And I was like, you're smoking. She's like, well, you get other breaks, and I skip my lunch, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I timed you. Each break is 11 minutes on average, so 10, 11-minute breaks is like quite some time. You're keeping me here an extra hour a day, and you're spending like $4,000 a year to take long breaks, keep yourself from your family, and objectively ruin your health. And she was like, what? I was like, think about it. Like, literally, think about it. And no offense, if somebody out there is struggling with smoking, like, I get it. I was there. I couldn't quit. I tried many times.
I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker.
And I'm not necessarily saying
smoke.
go do DMT for a month. Like, that could be very dangerous with your mental health. But
your mind's powerful.
Your mind is powerful, and it worked to me. I had this really bad, I suffer with migraines, and I had a really bad one about a year ago, and I was in the hospital over it, and I was scared I was actually having an aneurysm because the headache was pounding so hard on like a bloodline. It turned out to just be a tension headache, whatever. But the doctor at the hospital was asking about what I do, and I was like, well, here's some things that could affect my brain. And I was like, years of cocaine use. I've been using ecstasy since I was 15, like all these things. And I was like, and then I did DMT, and now I'm clean for a year at that point. And she was like, DM what? I was like, DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Have you ever heard of it? It's a powerful psychedelic. It's used in shamanic healing practices in, oh my God. Give me the name of the country.
Oh, I know. South America.
Just whatever. And she was like, I was like, there's this book called The Spirit Molecule. That's the most digestible thing. Read it and see. It like cured me of addiction. And she's like, you used another drug to cure. You used this like mysterious shamanic drug that I've never heard to cure your addiction. I was like, I swear to fucking God. I'm not lying to you. And she's like, this is fascinating. She's like, I want to know more. And there's like another medical doctor, like interested.
Young or old?
Younger. I'd say 35.
They have
40.
to be young to become interested in that.
The medical doctor that was that wrote my prescription was in her 60s. But
wow,
there's special people that poke through. I've noticed recently that the generational gap. There's definitely a lot of differentiation, and people that are in their 60s, 50s. Often more than not, sometimes they're like opposed to change and like sort of like shifting their paradigm to think cannabis is this like drug that maybe Jesus was giving this to people. I'm not religious, but like
straight up,
let's say maybe Jesus was healing people with cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
That makes way more. That's more believable to me than he was walking around tapping people on the forehead and fixing their ailments. I see a lot of that in evangelism in the U.S. and it's objectively baloney.
Yeah.
So I'd rather believe in something that makes sense in our reality, and I think like cannabis is that. And for people in their 50s to shift this paradigm, because they've always heard that the marijuana from Mexico is bad, and it's the bad hombres are coming over, and they're demons, and it's not true. But the shift is like so nuts.
It's incredible to see the acceptance and normalization of cannabis, and to see it how different media outlets are trying to push that acceptance to those demographics. Like, I don't know if you saw that Chevy Chase movie on Netflix. I don't even think you watch TV, but
I don't.
So there's a lot of cannabis smoking in it from like a 60 to 70-year-old demographic, and I was like,
sick.
This is how you normalize cannabis consumption.
Yeah, and the weird thing about this is people assume, and this is like a weird conversation about history, and like, does history really exist, right? It
100%.
exists in the minds of the people that have been taught something. And
wow,
we've been taught that forever cannabis has been bad, but before the 1920s, it was actually the most cultivated crop on the planet. And if you had talked to somebody, let's say this person was 180 years old now, and they were born in 1870, they would be like, yeah, no, like hemp is really important. It's the most useful material we have. We're actually creating paper out of it, but we're competing with the pulp industry from wood right now. But these people would have believed in their product. They would have been like, yeah, hemp, this, like, we need it. And that has disappeared over the last 70 years.
They just passed the Farm Bill in the United States. Are you up to date on this?
Yes, I am.
Which is mind-blowing. But for everybody listening, CBD is not legal in the United States. Like, because the Farm Bill passed does not mean CBD is legal. I repeat, CBD is not legal in the United States. So if you're being sold on that idea, put please still be concerned. It is a scheduled drug, but hemp is able to be grown. And in the Farm Bill, it's supposed to be under 10.3% THC, but it's supposed to be for an agricultural product, not to start creating isolates and shipping them. That's, again, illegal. But it's incredible to see this shift happening and people opening up. But I still don't see a lot of hemp-made products on the market. Not that, like, because it has been so... what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just going to go with safeguarded. Not safeguarded. Detached from industry for so long. But when hemp goods start coming on the market, will the consumer shift be to spend a few dollars more to buy a hemp shirt? Hemp white t-shirt?
And they last longer. They're more durable. I'd spend more money. I would love if they were available.
I would too. That'll be great. The first person that comes up with a cheap white t-shirt made of hemp. You
know what? There's a local guy, and I think it's called Seed Clothing.
I have the pants, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. There's a hemp guy. Are they cheap? No. But it's local, and those things last for fucking years, man.
I've had mine for 3.5 years now.
They're rave pants. Like, I shouldn't call them rave pants. They're wearable all year round. But, when you're at a festival or a rave, you need, like, good pants, like, good shorts. And, like, I have friends that have gone through, like, 10 festivals a year for a couple of years with these pants, and they're still, like... I bring my, like, a pair of Adidases to one festival, and then they look like they're, like... fucked after 1 week of running around at Shambhala, and these pants are lasting like a few years.
My hemp seed pants are dope, sewed locally, hemp fabrics. I forgot I had those. Sarah was like, why are you spending so much on these?
Well, you know what, let's get real. I feel that they're good value, but like I'm a struggling musician. I quit a good job to do this. Like, I couldn't go out and spend $150 on pants. Like, but I can still go to H&M and get a piece of shit for that. I hope someday that hemp is that cheap. We're getting hemp clothes, and that's the standard. They're cheap, and the people producing them are making a good living. That's the goal.
H&M's recycling clothes now. They have donation bins so that you can send back their fabrics, and they'll make more stuff with it.
That's pretty cool.
Respect.
Yeah, respect.
It's
sick.
Like, yeah, I appreciate that idea.
Yeah. Why not?
But yeah, how do we make people consume less clothing and switch to better fibers?
Man, I think I've been having lots of thoughts about this lately. My girlfriend was watching this show about tidying and minimalization.
Yeah, Marie
and like
Kondo.
we
Spock Joy.
Dude, yeah, we like how much like I don't have a lot of clothes. I have like, let's say 30 articles like hanging in my closet, and like I really only cycle through about 6 or 7 of them, and like all of those articles cost $1,000, and I get like 20. But what if I only wanted 6? Wouldn't that mean that I could pay more money, get something that's gonna last longer, and probably objectively be nicer too, right? If you get a $50 shirt or a $150 shirt, the $150 one is usually pretty sharp. Yeah. And I've been thinking that. I've been like, you know what? Maybe instead of buying, let's say I buy a shirt at the rate of every 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. But like, what if I just but then I don't wear them, right? You don't wear all these shirts you're buying. Well, what if you only bought a shirt once every 4 weeks, but then you spent like 4 times the amount on it and supported somebody local and something that was like, again, objectively better. Maybe it's better for the environment. Like with
dress clothes are great for that, I think. Cause like I was lucky. I got some great hand-me-downs of some super quality stuff from like a doctor.
Oh.
And yeah, and then I was fortunate that I could just buy a few nice shirts, but I haven't really had to buy clothes in years because I was fortunate to have like really good quality stuff, and I didn't want to buy more stuff.
Man, when you know what this is, I was thinking about this today. So this hat I'm wearing, King brand out of London. I was in London, and they had a pop-up shop, and I bought King stuff here. These hats are like $50, and they were 15 pounds or something.
Okay, so like $30,
10 pounds. Like, dude, they were like literally like $20 Canadian in London. So I bought like 7 of them, and I bought like a sweater and like some other shirts and shit because I knew it was good quality.
Yeah,
that was like fuck, man, like 4 years ago, and I still have one hat left that is like pristine, brand new, and I've gone through the rest of them, And some of them are now like really super shitty hats that I wear skateboarding. They're covered in sweat. But like I've been going through these hats for like years, and they're still fresh, and they still like are relevant as well.
Love
like,
that.
That's a good deal.
Well, the flip game on that would have been hype too. You go, drops are a crazy thing. I was watching this Sauce Talk, and drops didn't start happening until Michael Jordan started to do like release date. Like Jordan started to do release dates. But people pay so much for like cultured items. Just like you said, this hat's like $50 here, but I paid like $20 for it at the pop-up.
Yeah.
You could travel the world. Here's my entrepreneurial idea. If you like clothes and you have a good eye for it, all it takes is like a plane ticket and all of your money and go and flip it and prove that you know what you're talking about. And if you don't, buy it all in your size so that you can wear it. And what's the worst thing that happened? You're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, and you bought all the clothes that you like, and now you get to go flex on Instagram and try and create your business again. Like, go work a shitty job. I've had so many jobs I don't like just so I could have a paycheck. Use that paycheck to invest in yourself. What do you want to do? You like hockey cards? You like Supreme hats? You like Yeezys? I know I'm not into any of that stuff. I like cannabis. That's what I'm into. Yeah, anyways. There's my little rant, I guess.
Yeah, I think you could like, you know, starting up businesses and flipping products is like definitely a good thing to get into. I mean, we had a really great conversation about this before the mics were hot, about like doing something that you actually really care about. I mean, you've touched base on it a little bit. You said you didn't think you were going to make any money for 2 years, and that's the same thing as me, man. Like I quit a job that was almost 6 figures a year to be like, I'm going to sell music as a product. And like whatever goes around. Yeah. Dude, like,
I wanted to be a musician.
Yeah,
You're sitting behind the album I released. Like it's literally framing your head and I'm laughing at you.
Dude, like, but you can, you know, it can be done. Like anything. I was laughing
Hell
at you.
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, so you don't pay to smoke any weed? And you're like, no, man. Like people like want me to like review their products. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. It works for you. It works for them. And like, you know, this doesn't seem like work. This is like exactly what you want to do, but it serves a purpose. And in the grand scheme of things, like people are making money out of this, selling good products.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
Well, I was being taught about foreign exchange trading last night. There's over $4 trillion of trades done a day, and people are making money selling money between countries. Like this dude I was talking to buys US dollar against yen, mainly, and literally creates money off the money he already had by just buying in through a day at different times in the day other countries' money and selling it back and forth. Money is literally created out of thin air from other money.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's like created too. Like, you know, most of the money in circulation is like digital. Like I don't know what the exact figures on that, but I think like 10% of money is like printed.
As we have all these listeners, because it seems like a few people are actually listening to the podcast. Like in your wallet, do you have any cash right now?
Dude, no, and you know,
I don't have a dollar.
Check this out. So here, check out a crazy idea. So, who suffers the most with this idea is the most vulnerable. It's like homeless people, right? So, what if a company created a card, the card reader for them to take donations of money through digital currency instead, and then took a cut of it? Now,
boom.
But is it moral? Okay,
Yeah.
So the objective of this is the homeless people would probably get more money because there's no the cash and printed money isn't a thing, right?
Yeah.
If that's 10% of money in circulation and 90% is digital, well then they're 90% more likely to get more money, which they absolutely need, right? Whether it's going to drugs or actually eating food is not really of our concern, but they need funds in some way. And like, does that person take a cut? Well, they need to like service the machines, make sure there's batteries, replace the ones that are lost. It's like, that's where we are. And I was thinking of this the other day and I was like, man, like people that are at the most vulnerable, like there's two different classes now. There's like printed money and digital money. And those people can't operate in the digital money system of our society. So they're like almost like shut out from it. And if somebody were to create that product, do you know how much backslash they would get?
Yeah,
You're stealing money. You're stealing a portion of money from homeless people who don't have any. Like what a thing. Isn't that nuts,
bro?
Like, what?
What a sick idea. How much money is donated to homeless people around the world? If you could give them, I know I've seen homeless people with square readers before, because lots of them.
But you could fight it. You'd be like, yo, they're getting more money. I'm taking my cut to service that, and if I took my business out of here, then they would get less money. So what's the argument? It's not moral? Like,
no, it's totally moral.
Do you want to start a new business?
I know the guy. It's a really great idea. Like, how many well, okay, so there's the lost leader is giving away a reader. You give a homeless person a reader and a card?
Yeah.
Is what we're saying, and then so they can just tap a donation?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The logistics of, like, you know, how many of them have cell phones and need a square reader, or like whatever, you know, your donation reader, or like, do you need to set them up with phones, or like, and how do you choose one over another? Who's going to lose it? Who's not?
Man, so many people are going to hate that idea, and so many people are going to love that idea.
And I'm not saying, like, go out and do it. It's just like a very...
homeless people are a hard topic.
Interesting thing behind this idea...
Yes.
I think all good ideas come from exploiting something. Like, my good ideas in music come from exploiting techniques within Ableton that are hot right now. And, like, I don't want to say, like, homelessness is hot, but it's, like, a big issue.
It's a big issue.
And somebody could exploit that and make money from it by doing something objectively good.
Social entrepreneurship is a hot word right now.
It's just, it goes back again to the thinking that people have, like, you know, there's upper class, middle class, like lower class, whatever, and then there's people that exist out of the you know, the place where we use digital currency to buy and acquire things, and they don't exist in that realm. It's crazy. Well, they live in a different reality, a different paradigm.
We're kind of closed-minded in thinking about homelessness. Think about Africa, where there's tons of people that are not in city centers, that are not operating on a digital platform.
Well, you know what is actually that's almost like for sure. There's a statistic I was looking at the other day. It's like, you know, like the low end spectrum of like society that doesn't have a lot of money miss out on like generations of technology. So a lot of these people in Africa never had a landline, and they missed that whole generation of technology, moved straight to cell phones. Yeah, like, isn't that gnarly?
And internet's free.
And like, remember, like, growing up, I don't know how much older I am than you. I'm
just a few years.
Yeah, just a few years. So like 20 years ago, when you're in school, and it was all about like Africa and whatever.
I wasn't in school 20 years ago.
Damn, I was.
Okay, anyways.
Yeah, I'm 31. So maybe I'm like, I'm probably a little bit older. Okay, so anyways, yeah, you would like see them and they wouldn't have like phones or anything, right? But now they have cell phones, and it's interesting because that's like at the bottom in like a standard.
What about Cuba? You're stuck in Have you ever been to Cuba?
No, but I have a friend that I met through SoundCloud that is South American. I think he's Colombian, and he was going through Cuba, and he said, I follow his photos, very interesting guy, and he's like, it was like going into a time warp.
It is. It's insane. Least favorite place I've ever been in the entire world. Will never go back. Hate it. Got so sick. Don't care about you.
Really?
Yeah, some really bad things happen, but just like flat out, I would never endorse Cuba. Beautiful place though, because of the nature reserves and because of nothing being able to happen, but it is like a time warp. There's so much untouched land. All the cars are super old, and people have had to figure out how to be resourceful to keep them going. And it's like, if you want to build a house, you gotta like you gotta wait for the cement, and then you gotta wait for the bricks. I have a buddy who's building a restaurant in Cuba right now, and it's been like 2.5 years. And
that's like Mexico too. It takes years.
Well, no, Mexico, you could have it done in a day. I watched a building go up one time. So I was staying in the second tower of a 3-tower development, and this tower was going up so fast. And then the last day I was there, the whole condo I was staying in was all windows. Yeah. And I got out of the shower, I was put my gaunch on, and literally the top 2 floors of this tower started crumbling, and like, yeah, people were dying all over the place.
What?
Oh man, yeah, I watched hundreds of people die in that moment. It was intense.
What the fuck? That's crazy, man. If there's some actual genius engineering in China where they can build 10-story buildings,
but it was built really fast. Yeah,
fast and safely.
That genius engineering was not applied in that moment, but you can build it anything fast in Mexico.
Yeah,
that was intense. I totally forgot about that.
Jesus Christ, man, that's gnarly. Going back to Cuba though, I had a question for you. So like, going back in a time warp and seeing cars maintained and usable for so many years. Is there any like beauty behind that? Like,
the cars are amazing.
Yeah, so like,
the cars are great.
Is there anything like you say it's like a shit experience, but like
Okay.
overall, and I'm sure the food is one of them, but like, is there any like with people being resourceful and like is there anything to be learned for us? Because I feel like we go through shit like so quick.
No, I think they're stuck in a place that really sucks.
Yeah,
I don't think the idea that you have to like work extremely hard or figure out a side hustle that's illegal to get ahead to then wait. Like, no, the rest of the world having open access to products is much better than being gated and having to be resourceful. I feel bad for the Cuban people and the food that they have to eat. I got in a cab. I said, take me to the nicest restaurant in town. And it was like so gross. Best mojito I've ever had. The woman singing was beautiful. The food was disgusting.
And was it the quality or the blend of like how they added like a flavor profile to it? Like,
no, it's the quality. Cuban food made anywhere else in the world is fantastic. I went to an amazing Cuban restaurant in Los Angeles last time I was there in October.
Yeah.
And the food was crazy good because the flavors and the culture is awesome.
But they just don't have access to quality ingredients.
No, because if it's not made or grown there, they can't have it really.
Damn. This is like, honestly, I the only thing I know about Cuba is the Trudeau thing and whatever, and he's like Castro's baby or something. Cuban
Totally
cigars
is.
and like honestly that there's something with like missiles and the US doesn't like them. Like that's all I really know. Except for like seeing Havana in like a video game.
They were on Russia's side.
Oh, okay.
And in the Cold War,
right.
Cuba was like a missile. And you can
they're
see
close, so the nukes could hit
from
the US,
Havana.
right?
You can see Miami, and there's a big flag wall where you weren't able to see across in a telescope, but you can literally see with your bare eyes. Like that's how close Cuba and America are, and that's why there's so many Cubans in Florida because it's like not a long boat ride. It's a couple hours in anything you make. But yeah, the places, I don't know. Fidel Castro did not do a good job. It was interesting when I went because he's dead now, and he was like on his deathbed, and so I would like ask people working there, Cubans, and they all really didn't like him. Like nobody was like, communism's great. And these are people that are living in it. You watch documentaries. I watched a great one on Netflix again of a journalist, a Canadian journalist who started going in the 1960s, and it followed all the way up to 2018. And he went every few years, and he talked to the same families and the same people, and it was like extremely, extremely sad. There's absolutely zero prosperity in that country, and with zero prosperity comes desperation. And with desperation, good, hardworking people get screwed. And that's what seemed to be the theme of this documentary. And it was upsetting. And that's kind of what I saw when I was there. We got really sick, me and Sarah, with like Norwalk virus. We had gone out to Cayo Coco. It's an island that's it's on a tramway or whatever through the ocean. And it's basically just a resort island. And everybody who works there leaves at night, and nobody lives there except for people on the resort. And the whole island had been like poisoned with neurovirus, Norwalk virus, which is like what plagues cruise ships and shuts down cruise ships all over the world. But we had gotten a smoking deal. It was like way too good of a deal, and we're like, yeah, whatever. It's Cuba, like it's gonna be bad food. We had been once before, and it was a pretty good experience. And we got there and we realized, like, we arrived New Year's Eve, we partied, and the next day, like, when we started talking to people, like, everybody was sick. And then I got sick. And then Sarah got sick. And then we got extremely, extremely sick because nobody there wanted to care for us. They would rather, like, be like, nah, they're just people on vacation. We don't need to care for them. And so, like, I lost 15 pounds, and I don't weigh much. Sarah lost 10 pounds.
Holy crap, man.
Like, we didn't eat for a week, and then the worst part was the one day we were feeling a little bit better. Like, we couldn't eat at all. I would just shit and puke the entire time, and, like, they were literally denying that we were even sick. I tried to pay to get out of the country. They're like, we don't have any flights going back to Canada unless you want to pay $1,900 and have a layover in Winnipeg for 24 hours. and and I didn't have $4,000 to get us back home.
because you can't even fly to the States. Because if you could fly to Miami, you could get a flight back here for a couple $100.
I would have been out. I would have been out of there. Sarah, we would have been in Miami doing anything but being in Cuba. Like, we were literally dying.
Oh my God.
And I thought I was gonna die. Sarah thought she's gonna. It was a really intense moment. And the one day we were feeling a little bit better, we were drinking in the pool, and our buddy got drunk, and he was sick too. So none of us have like a lot of stamina in our bodies, and we're drinking. And he was convinced to jump into the pool and dove into the pool, the shallow end of the pool, and hit the bottom. This huge dude, and nobody's looking but me, and then Sarah right after. And I had to hop in and pick this dude up off the bottom of the pool, and like, he's paralyzed for life now. He's a quadriplegic, and he ended up staying in Cuban hospitals for like he was there for almost a month, and then had to get like heli jetted out and back, and it was like an intense experience. But the whole experience showed me like just how shitty Cuba was.
It was just a random guy?
My homie, I had met him there on New Year's Eve when we arrived. He was a great guy. He was like the guy. I ended up chilling with him every day. Him and his girl, and they were great people. We made great friends. And then, the one day we were all feeling better.
So he broke his neck.
Yeah, he exploded his C5 vertebrae. Luckily, he was such a big dude, and he was so drunk that he hit it at the bottom and went limp, and it fucking. And that's actually what saved his life, because a lot of people die from that break if something shoots into another vertebrae.
Man, sorry to like interrupt your story, but that's hard to like. You just talked about like seeing people die in a collapsing building, and now this gentleman is unfortunately like.
Sorry,
paralyzed.
I'm laying
like,
too much on you.
Holy shit, dude!
Yeah,
man, you've seen some stuff. That's like crazy. That's very sad.
It is sad, but you know what? I don't think I'm experiencing any like PTSD about it. I'm able.
Yeah.
Like,
of
it's
course.
not.
I feel. I feel bad for that. This gentleman that's obviously happened to you. Like, holy shit,
me
man.
too, because he's such a he's still such a handsome dude. But you know what's come from it is this amazing group, women and girlfriends of Wags of Psi, spinal cord injuries.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend, great lady, and she's so strong through all of it, and created this amazing movement where she saw a gap in support for people who were going through this from the outside, like supporting somebody going through this.
Yeah.
And through it, she's built an amazing international community of wives and girlfriends of spinal cord injury.
Jesus, man. Yeah, and like crazy. I don't like mean to say it's like sad as if like it's sad forever, because I know people that are paralyzed live fulfilled, happy lives. And like something beyond this is I see, over the passing years that there's lots of development in fixing people's nervous systems.
Oh, dude was in a robo suit, like straight up. He was at, I can't remember the amazing spinal cord recovery center in Vancouver when I went and visited him, but I saw Instagram videos of him straight up in robo suits and then like trying to stimulate nerves and stuff. Like, this is a very real. He's so strong. He was in masonry. He's like 6'6", 240-pound guy, like the strongest guy you could imagine.
I firmly believe within this guy's lifetime that there's going to be some sort of advancement that will give people the feeling back and the extremities that they've lost sensation in.
Is like his mental fortitude, how strong he was physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Like, I truly believe 95% of people, 97% of people wouldn't have lived through what happened to him.
Yeah.
One of the most physically fit dudes when I met him, and mentally strong dudes going forward ever. Inspirational as hell. Hope I get to chat with him on the podcast.
Yeah, no shit, man. That's so gnarly.
Yeah, super gnarly. Anyways, we should have another dab and shift that. We're smoking on some Kush Bomb, and the Kush Bomb is fantastic. It's grown in-house by somebody I don't want to mention on the podcast, and man, it smells of like fresh forest floor, tamarack tip, underripe pineapple rind.
Dude, what? Okay. Tamarack tip?
Tamarack tree. Yeah, you know the tamarack tree. You're a bird boy. Oh, no, you're from
No,
the
I'm
East
from
Coast.
Prince Edward Island, man.
Well, go up north, eh? Just go up north a little bit there in northern Berta, and rub your hands on some tamarack.
Oh my God, I've like lost that accent. Thank God. Sorry to all my East Coast fam out there, but
Yeah,
the accent's a little crazy.
I wrote a song last night called "That's the Way She Goes." Hey, bud.
Oh my God, man.
That's the way she goes. Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, bud.
I saw your mom at the grocery store. She was with your sister, man.
I'd like to do her.
Oh
That's
my
the way
God.
she goes. Just the way she goes.
Because you're a stallion, bud.
Hey, bud.
Because you're a stallion. Oh,
Hey,
we need
bud.
to go write some music in your basement.
Oh, man, yeah, I'm down. When you're on your last smoke. When you ran out of dad jokes. When you're just an average bloke. That's the way it goes.
Oh my God.
Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Hey, bud.
Oh my God. I didn't think I'd be like singing some nonsense on a podcast. This is so funny, dude. Like, so funny.
Hey, Beers with Buds is great. It's just such an awesome, open conversation where I get to talk to some of my favorite people, start new relationships, ask questions that I usually wouldn't ask in conversation, and just look you in the eyes and be like, yeah, this is. But this is just it's just like if we were hanging normally. This is the same.
Yeah, like talking about like everything possible.
I love it. I love the DMT stories. I love the beer.
I love people like you and me that are like adventurous, man. That like honestly we get into some trouble, see some shit, like experience some things. Like some people, I've been working with a lot of like, I'm gonna call them normies for the last like 15 years, and some people have lived like really boring, pathetic lives, and it's very like uninteresting, and it's almost weird to me. Oh, I've never left Calgary. I'm 60.
Freaking square.
Why? and it's yeah, there's a little bit of me judging you when somebody says that to me, but also a big part of me is like, man, that is like super sad. Like,
Yeah,
I want you to go like experience some stuff. Like eat a mango. Oh, you're 70. You've never had a mango. Like, holy shit.
If you've never experienced an overripe mango.
Dude, so I at work I get mangoes flying in from Australia, Israel, whatever, and these are premium bad boys. They're like
Bad
$6
boys.
to $9 a mango, and they have like no fiber. You can press the cut up mango into the roof of your mouth, and it turns into nectar. Like these things are nuts. And there's this really nice lady at work. She's just about to retire, 65. And I was like, do you want to try a sample of these new R2E2 mangoes we got from Australia? And she's like, my dear, I've never had a mango before. I was like, what? Like, dude, you've never had one? Like, this is your day. And she took it, like, this thing, like, when you cut it to the pit, there's still about 1.5 inches of flesh. So they are like slices, dude. And she took a bite of it, and like, the way her eyes lit up, she's like, oh my God, this is like incredible. It's like, why have you never had this?
It was like I wish she could have watched Forrest Gump for her first time at that same moment.
Dude, it's crazy, man. Like, it's gnarly that some people get caught in their ways. My mom has never, to my knowledge, really left Prince Edward Island.
And like vibrates.
As beautiful as the island is, it's like, why have you not gone beyond that? There's so much. Like, I would love to see all of the countries.
Yeah, no, that's totally interesting. But I guess it's just like the plate. My mom left. She grew up in a small town too, and first time she left the country was when she met my dad, and they went to Hawaii. And that to me is so interesting because I got to grow up in a life where I had the opportunity to go on some family vacations. In my years, and got to go to Disneyland and stuff. And then as an adult, I started traveling a lot, which is really cool. But I couldn't imagine being like 23, 24 years old, getting on a plane for my first time. And there's a lot of people who, have never been on a plane. I just saw a great story. It might have even been you that shared it, and it was like everything I learned in my life was from gangbangers. And this guy had
God, no, it wasn't me.
oh, okay. This guy had started like a foundation. It was called Homeboy, and he like employed homies and like ex-gang members. And so this one dude who's like yadded out top to bottom, like hard ass dude, not afraid of anything. he's like, yeah, man, come for a speaking engagement with me because I really like your story. And they go to get on a plane, and this dude starts freaking out. He's like, yo, man, I've never been on a plane before. I'm absolutely terrified. And he's like, what do you mean? You've been shot. And you've never been, like, and you're scared of getting on a plane because you've never been on it.
Dude, I guess, yeah. I've wanted to, like, travel and see shit since I was young. Like, I hitchhiked to Montreal when I turned 18 because the drinking age was 19 in PEI. And, like, hitchhiked with my friend, and we had, like, a one-person tent that we slept in on the side of the road and shit. Like, because I wanted to see some shit. Man, and, like, I remember, like, this is going to sound super weird, but if I had a preferred way to die, like, the one now is actually just to inhale nitrogen in a bag if I were to ever, like, feel like I needed to, like... It's just...
He's just going to have a bong hoot quick before he tells you how he wants to die. Don't worry. Oh, it said it's a dab. Yeah, you're good. It's done. I'm going to wipe it up now. Okay, you want to inhale a bag of nitrogen.
Yeah, like I remember being on a plane for the first time when I was like 15 with my grandfather. And like it was exhilarating. Almost like a roller coaster when it took off. And I thought, I remember watching Mayday on the plane. Like it was on, like, yeah, it was like one of the options. This was not my first time. This was like another time I was flying, and I was like weird. And like, seeing people like die in plane crashes or like planes going down or whatever, and thinking that would actually be an exhilarating way to die. Because the impact would knock you out instantly. But on the way down, if you could just like accept that you were going to die, it would be like what a roller coaster ride. I'm watching it on Mayday. I'm like in it. I'm like, oh my god, look, like it's going down. The things are popping out. Things are flying, and like there's like so much energy flying around. Yeah, it's sad. Everybody's gonna die. But I was like, if you're already in that position, and it's gonna happen, and just accepting it and like going with it, you're like, yeah, like what? Like fucking going into the ground at like fucking 1,000 miles an hour, just like.
I think a lot of people if you've experienced psychedelics on the level that we talked about. Yeah, you have a better understanding of that feeling.
I feel like death is like one of the safest things. It's like being born, and being born is a paradox. It's like waking up after having never gone to sleep, and death is the opposite end of that.
Yeah, memento mori. Remember, you will die.
It is, and like again, it's a kind of like a morbid thing. I'm not like saying like I wish anybody dies on and like I'd be looking around thinking like, oh shit, there's like kids and whatever, and adults and women and children and but like whatever. If you're already in that situation, like you might as well own it and just realize that like what's about to happen is natural and safe.
Yeah, it's destiny.
Yeah.
Well, check this out. So I had a podcast with Chef Alicia Ross, and she brought this crazy alien idea to me. She's like, and I know you'll appreciate this one. She's like, okay, so we're in the 3D right now. And we are learning our lessons, thinking about reincarnation. We're in our moment where we're at our level of intelligence. When we die, are we reincarnated into the fourth dimension where then our technology levels up and everything levels up? And if you earn your right and you've gone through life and collected enough knowledge, do you then get to be reincarnated into a next more advanced civilization?
Yeah. And like I've like heard some theories, and like this, I don't know if I'm gonna quote this like right, but like we're in 3D, but we still perceive like 2D, and like when you see like circles made, it's really just pixels and like squares on different ratios, and the ratio is pi, but we still don't understand pi. It's forever ending, and it doesn't make sense because we don't understand infinity, negative or positive, and all of those instructions. Like I don't know, man. I feel like it's just like the reason why, like unless you get to either be God or you're not, you're one or the other, right?
Is everybody their own god?
Yeah. It all can exist at the same time, point, space. Like there's no such thing as time. It's
but
like,
faith is a good thing to have.
I think faith is a good thing to have, and the thing is, like I personally believe that I'm God. I'm a creator.
So you have faith in yourself.
But like if you were to be Christian and believed in like whatever God, and like we're like everything made sense and it was sane, like you didn't think like gay people caused hurricanes or like something weird and warped, like I'd be like sick, man. Like good for you. Like hey, we still can like music, drink beer, hopefully smoke pot or whatever, right? Like
yeah.
And like it's
I
good.
I want to jump in on this. I listened to a great CBC thing about this black musician who made it his mission in life to educate KKK members and befriend them.
Sick. And that's what it's all about. It's about like just like accepting that there's more than one truth and being like, yo, so you believe in this Jesus thing and God, and like that makes you happy, and you have good morals. Like you treat people nice and like, you know, give without expectation, like do some like nice shit. Like that's cool. And like there could be Muslim people that do the same thing. I've worked with lots of Muslim people and they've shown me different parts of their religion that I find very attractive. Like
Super
the fasting
beautiful, yeah.
and like, you know, like when I guess like more elderly people can, and then they have to give a meal to somebody out of like just like good faith and no expectation of anything in return. I was like, these are like all really good like practices, and like Buddhism and other things, and then atheism. I don't know, man. I just like at the end of the day, I think they can all exist in harmony.
Religion's only fucked up if you think yours is better than somebody else's.
Yeah, like I think if it works for that person, then that's exactly what is supposed to be happening right here. Like for sure. But if their happiness comes from like killing other people, then that's pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, that's something
you know
that
what
should
I mean?
be bred out and evolved
that
out of
is
them by now.
Not specific that like the Christians have gone on crusades and killed people. Muslim people have, Buddhist people, like everybody is like, humans like have like attacked each other.
People like to fight.
And the thing with my view of like just like being God and like feeling like you have the power of choice to like make better decisions, and like I don't know, man, like there's like a natural way of like thinking right and wrong, dude. Like,
are we in an era of like enlightenment right now? I know there, like I talked about Donald Trump earlier, but that jackass is really making people wake up to like actually thinking about the repercussion of their decisions and their actions. I feel like people want to be more in touch with everything that you're talking about.
I think it would help, man. I think like all like, you know, like let's take somebody that's polar opposite for me, like a family in the States, all the kids have guns. They learn that, you know, the government's against them and we should like, you know, I'll take mine. And, you know, that's like a crazy conservative, whatever. Like, not, I don't say crazy. It's some people that exist in like in society. And that's like way opposite than me. But at the heart of the thing, they all want the same thing. Like clean water, a warm place to lay their heads, like food, safety, security, like the freedom to practice their own whatever.
Don't build a wall, get clean water for Flint. I'm sorry.
They all want the same shit as us. We just have like different forms of like getting it. And like, I think like separating them further isn't like making everybody work together, because if the further you separate means that one has to die over the other, and that's what creates these conflicts in people. So the more divisive it is, like fucking Donald Trump, man, he's not bringing people together. Like everybody wants the same fucking shit, except for like
I think he kind of is bringing people together in the wrong way, like not intentionally. Like he's making people like really be like, holy fuck, we unanimously hate this asshole.
Well, are humans smart enough, or will there be like such a divide that it gives birth to something like some sort of like crazy situation? I don't know, man. I hope fucking not. Like honestly, I hope it's like almost over. Donald Trump goes to jail, and like somebody like Bernie Sanders can like bring the like. There was lots of conservatives and Republicans switch their like thought because of Bernie Sanders. Like he's objective. He's like 50 years serving without a single fucking anything like showing that he's like corrupt.
I donated to the Bernie Sanders campaign.
I think he's a fucking hero, dude.
I love the guy. I wrote a song that I sample Bernie Sanders the whole way through, and it's like it's a speech. I just think about it as the why not speech. And it's like, why can't we give free education and healthcare?
Like, dude,
why not?
Dude, why not? Why do the Waltons have like $200 billion of wealth? Like 5 people. Like, why does that doesn't make any sense? Why does Jeff Bezos have $150 billion of wealth?
Did you see there's a big cry now, like Elizabeth Warren and Alicia Cortez, that new chick from New York.
Yeah.
They're saying like, there's bills tabled now to like heavily tax.
Yeah, 70%. You know, the years of Eisenhower, he served 2 terms, and the average tax on people earning $200,000 and over was 91%, and that got the country in a good position after World War II. And it wasn't off the backs of the working Americans, and he was a Republican. Like, why not do that now?
Damn, I didn't know that.
The Republicans have convinced people that make less, that they would, like, it's like $10 million. They would have to work like 200 years, the average income, 50,000, or like whatever those statistics are. It's like crazy to even qualify for that tax bracket. And they've convinced everybody that they need it. It's fucking absolutely insane.
No, the wealth should be shared. And
Yeah, and for them too, and for the Republicans. That's like the Democratic idea is like share it for everybody, and they keep thinking like
that's why we have
nobody's gonna get
democracy.
ours.
That's why we have democracy.
Dude, just split the wealth up. It's fucking nuts.
Why should with inflation? So like I was reading that the Forbes billionaire list, when it was first published in 82, there was like 45 people on it, and the richest guy was like 3.8 billion, and now the richest guy is 50 billion or 60 billion.
And here's the thing, because there's such a drastic difference right now when you try to entertain these like closed minds with what we think would be good, having a good life, right? They think, well, not everybody can be a millionaire, and these people they picture in their mind like a big house and a Ferrari, and like no, like just a basic life where like people had like a warm house, the two parents had the ability to both work, or maybe one didn't work, and there was enough income to have like a car, 4 weeks off a year, free dental, education, hope for their children to get education, enough time to like not work so they could love and like cater to their kids. Like that isn't like a far out idea, dude.
No,
like some
ridiculous.
people have, Jeff Bezos is making $150,000 a fucking minute or something. Like, dude, like there's so much to go around. It doesn't have to be like everybody has to have 6 Ferraris. Like that's fucking stupid. Nobody wants that. Like people that do want that, like there would still be that opportunity in society for people to get that big.
Right.
And in fact, there would be more because there wouldn't be one person with 1 million Ferraris. That's like the difference. Or 1 billion Ferraris. Like it's fucking nuts.
Why are so many people literally sinking in university debt?
Yeah,
when you
dude.
have billions of dollars. Like if you can prove, and I don't think everybody should get it for free, but if you can prove that you're willing to work hard and you'll follow through, you should be able to do whatever you want.
These people come up with new ideas to create more efficient energy, and they're throttled by the oil companies and everything. The smart people's ideas are still throttled through society. It's like maybe if we educated more people, the masses would actually be like, no, this isn't right. Like free energy for everybody is a good thing.
Yeah, why
do we pay so much for energy?
Why do we pay so much for energy?
Why? So big companies can fucking gain off of it? Shouldn't that be a nationalized program where everybody gains equally off energy?
What about cell phones? This is one that blows my mind. Like the internet itself, we pay more per gig in Canada than anywhere in the entire world for cell phone coverage. Yet the World Health Organization and a few other people have made the internet a basic necessity now, because that's our access point to information. Beside water and food, the internet is a basic necessity. So why then are Canadians taxed so much as other places in the world, internet literally becomes free?
Why aren't we building a network for ourselves, like as like public owners of like a network for Canadians?
Right.
Like we all need it. Like is there a group? Is there like 5? Like how many companies are in Canada? Is there 5 major providers?
I guess we have TELUS,
do they need it more?
Shaw,
do they
Bell?
Should they be getting $36 million salaries?
It's a monopoly.
No, it's nuts.
Why don't the people own the internet?
Why don't people own the internet? Everybody would be better for it. So if anybody would vote against that, they'd have to have some real like serious issue in their head, because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm actually kind of speechless and mind blown. Why don't the people own the internet? The fact that the internet's now for sale, and that it's controlled and monopolized by
like water is like
companies.
Extracted. Like Nestle, why can they take water for so cheap? Why are we buying that water anyways?
Right,
like,
Coca-Cola destroys places and takes all their fresh water to create syrupy crap.
Like, why are we doing stuff like that? It doesn't make any sense, man.
Because the guy that asked for it and the guy that takes it is the guy that wins. And if you're not willing to take it, then you're not willing to play in the game. If you don't want to catch the ball, don't go out on the field.
Yeah.
And sports analogies.
Check this out. The other day, so we wrap some of our produce in styrofoam, which is like not a good thing. Like it's objectively bad. But as a store, we like taken a lot of measures to like change our impact. So we got LED lighting. We're not using plastic in the meat and deli. We're going to wrap it in traditional paper that's compostable. We're getting organic biodegradable produce bags too, that we're going to charge 5 cents per customer just to carry that cost. But they're usable in your home compost, so
everywhere
makes
else
sense, right?
charges for bags.
So it's fine, but it's a good bag, right? Feel like, and you know what? I think they were 12 cents in a box of the Glade ones, so it's actually cheaper anyways. Like it's a good thing. And so this one girl is like upset about these styrofoam, and as she should be. And we've been trying to find a solution. And I've been on Alibaba and trying to find like, you know, cornstarch or like something that would like hold up to produce. And they're readily available for a very good price, but the quantities make them unavailable to us, right? Like $30,000 order, like, you know, we wouldn't use that amount in years. So you need like bigger distributions, like our wholesale or like Loblaws.
Ask for sample size.
Or like, you know, bigger companies to lead the way in this, not the little guy. Like that doesn't make sense. We've tried to get them locally, and we found one that they had compostable plant plastic, but it was
the Alibaba trick, straight 100, up is sample size.
100 to 150 days, and the Calgary dump doesn't take it because it doesn't biodegrade quick enough. So if you put it in your compost, it gets rejected. If you put it in recycling, it gets rejected. And it's a plant-based biodegradable product, and it still goes in the landfill. So there's like a lot of like logistical shit around this, right? And like really, if the government stepped in and said, okay, so there's like 1 year left and you have to all be on biodegradable plastic or something that's recyclable, like there would become a market for it, right? And a distributor would step in and start buying wholesale from China and pumping it into Calgary to feed the businesses here. It would make sense, and that is a really good business to probably get into. There's another one.
Yeah, if you're listening.
If anybody's listening and wants to get into selling plant plastic that the Calgary dump will take, you're probably a good endeavor. Anyway,
I bet that's like every dumping.
So getting back to the main point of this, she didn't like any of these ideas, and we're really just struggling. Like, do you have a suggestion yourself? No. And they're like, well, what we're doing is coming up with a program where we collaborate with our customers, and you bring in your own recyclable or reusable containers, and we'll tear it in the back and then fill it with the produce you want. So like cut up broccoli or pineapple or like whatever you want. Yeah. Like we'll package it. You just have to wait. And if you want, you can call ahead and we'll have it prepared for you, and then we'll weigh it.
Okay.
So we'll give you the prices. And she's like, that's too much hassle. I'm shopping at Superstore then. Like what?
What a
like,
bag.
But like that doesn't make any sense. Like
People
you complain about everything, and it's like, you know, like why would you not do that effort? Like we're literally trying. We talk about it every week. And like, you know, you don't want to put in a minimal effort into like working with us.
People are lazy.
You know, and all I could think, you know, working for Superstore is like one meat department in the city would do about an average of $250,000 a week. I'm sure at least 50 grand of that meat is sold in styrofoam.
Yep.
Like dude, you're complaining at like, you know, we're small sales, local, like small tiny thing. Like, you know, there's styrofoam, it sucks, but it's not a huge quantity. And one Superstore meat department would be probably selling more than we use in a year in one store. And I think there's like, you know, 10 stores at least. So like that doesn't make sense. So you're going to go support them. They have the money to make the change and lead the way. And you're going to come and like complain about us. And when we ask to just collaborate while we find a solution, you like say it's too much hassle. Like people like that are like kind of voting against their own interests.
They're dead weight. But like how do you get that's mind-blowing actually that I'm thinking about that now, like the amount of styrofoam that's used in traditional grocery. I know Save On Foods has switched to like these plastic
recyclable ones, yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah.
I like getting it in those because I feel like it's actually more fresh. I've liked that it's vacuum sealed.
The foam is like it's almost like
foam's ghetto.
It's ghetto, but it like holds like the moisture on the sides. It gets like kind of like I don't know,
and
like
you
a
have
hot
to put
shower.
And you got to put that one like the sheet underneath that sits between the styrofoam. They actually use that on me after I get tattooed. Like it's like the same bandage. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, this is fucking gross.
That's super weird.
Right? But I guess there's a lot of products that can be used in any industry, which is hilarious about cannabis.
I think the industry is changing. It's just like, it's, you know, it sucks. Like really, it just sucks as like a small producer that you can't find something readily available. And it's like there is, but then the Calgary dump doesn't take it. And I mean,
well, let's talk about cannabis legalization in parallel right now.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Well, I grab you some things to look at and you can see the packaging.
How do I feel about the legalization?
Yeah, how do you feel about legalization?
I have like a few different thoughts about it actually. I think overall it's a positive move here in the United States, like globally. I'm really happy that people are becoming more aware of like its benefits and like more aware of like there was really just a big smokescreen for some time over, you know, the positives.
These ones you can open. These ones you can't open because they're still up for review.
Okay. The I think the logistics and like how the black market is cheaper is interesting. I feel like there could be like some sort of like alternative craft market come up as like the black market. It shifts into that. I don't know. Like I haven't bought any cannabis legally except for when I've left the city. So I get it all still from the black market because I can't afford to buy it legally.
Yeah, because this one's like $15 a gram. This one's $8. Is this
yeah.
even open? Yeah.
And then
if you want to smell these or look at these, like, you know, some of the amounts of packaging is what blows me away. But
yeah, the packaging I got for a gram in Medicine Hat was like super bulky. And I thought it was like kind of tacky, like how big it was. Like to get like such a 1 gram, and then the nug was like dry. Like I broke it up with my fingers into powder. It was very potent, which was nice, but like the texture was not good, and it smoked very harsh because it was so dry.
Yeah, it's interesting. Smoking the legal cannabis, a lot of it was burns pretty black.
Yeah,
which indicatively, as a longtime cannabis consumer, means that it was not of the best quality. Yeah. But it is nice to think that you can go and buy cannabis in small town Alberta.
Yeah, so
without knowing
that was convenient. That was cool. I was down with that. And I think it's really good for people that wouldn't have a network to get it from the black market. Although it's become as simple as like literally typing it up on Google and finding it, and somebody will deliver it to your house.
Pro tip.
It's literally that easy, and it's super cheap, and the service is really great. But like, yeah, other than that, if you couldn't figure that out, I think it's great for certain people, and I hope more people use it, you know, and maybe choose to use that even over alcohol. I feel like there's more people with problems with alcohol than I've ever seen with marijuana. I to be honest, I don't think I've ever experienced somebody in my life that had an issue with marijuana where it was like negatively affecting them in some sort of way, beyond like people that get paranoid and choose to just not use it anymore.
Well, I guess there's the drug dealer aspect. That's the biggest negative impact of cannabis, is when you decide to create a business out of it, and the people that are affected that way. And there are people that abuse it too. And there's a reason that there's negative stereotypes. Yeah. But those people aren't dying. Like I've watched what's that rehab show on A&E or whatever, or TLC? Yeah. What's it called? Oh, I'm dying here. Intervention.
I guess you're right. They're not dying. They're like, you know, you could be lazy and very like complacent, but I feel like that person that is living that in marijuana would live it beyond that.
But people are hella lazy regardless, like how many
that's what I mean. I think there's like that complacent person would be equally as complacent not using marijuana, and because marijuana isn't harming him, then like what's really the point of monitoring it? People that drink a lot of Coca-Cola, it's objectively harming them.
Yeah, if they were a hoarder and they smoked cigarettes, would you blame their hoarding on their cigarettes? But if they smoke cannabis, would you blame the hoarding on them smoking cannabis?
Yeah, I feel like it's just kind of like part of it. And yeah, like, I mean, that sucks. But I don't think if you remove the cannabis from that situation, you'd remove like the person. The person or the output of that. But like if somebody's like abusing fentanyl, and you were able to safely remove the fentanyl so the person could recover the withdrawal, like it would have a profound effect if they weren't able to get it again and could heal through that.
Yeah, cannabis withdrawal is like food doesn't taste as good, and I stay up a little bit later.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes I don't smoke as much. I do smoke on the daily. Every now and then I'll go a couple days without actually ingesting it, and I do notice that I can get more irritable or whatever. And the honestly, really, the only reason why I don't is because sometimes I just run out of money. I have a budget. I'm like a starving artist, so like right now I run out of money. And if I had more, I would smoke it. But it's not like, you know, I remember using cocaine on the daily. Like running out of cocaine was fucking nuts, man. Like, like dude, that sucks. Like, fuck. Like you're like, oh my god, like, well, okay, I'm gonna like go see this guy, like go get it, and you like take a line. And you're like, oh fuck, like finally, like sweet. Like, I'm okay. This is going to be fine. But like I've never had that feeling with cannabis. But like if I go a couple days without smoking and I get it, I like very much enjoy it. Like I would a good meal, you know, if you're on traveling and you're eating fast food for a couple days and you get home and you're like, man, like I got some fresh ingredients, like I'm gonna make some really fucking good food, and you enjoy that. I feel like the same way about cannabis, and like having good food like has a good value in your body, and I feel like having good cannabis has like value.
Totally. Fire in, fire out.
Yeah.
That's the motto with cannabis, no matter what you're doing.
And you know what? Like, I did smoke cannabis, like the flower, heavily for 2 years, and it did harm my lungs. I started coughing. I felt like I had the same cough that I had when I was smoking. So I started vaporizing it, and it's been about 7-8 months now, and I find I'm not coughing, and I feel like it's like a cleaner sort of way to ingest it.
Totally.
And that's a thing to be real with. Like you like people smoking like joints on the daily. Like that is like smoking cigarettes. Like,
I saw a great meme. It was like, "Doctor, do you smoke?" It's like, "Yeah." And then the doctor's like, "Cigarettes?" And the guy's face is like, "What? No, who smokes cigarettes anymore? We all smoke weed though."
But it's like, it's not good for you if you do it on the daily, dude. It's definitely harsher. And like burning any sort of thing and inhaling it is like not good.
Yeah, it's hot smoke.
Yeah. Like vaporizing, dude, like.
That's the money. Essential oils is what I'm all about. You guys know. Dabs.
Yeah, dude. It's like, it's sort of been like a changing point in my life, actually, going from smoking flower since I was 13, so like 15, 16, like 18 years, man, of smoking flower, to like switching to dabbing. It's been very nice.
I remember my introduction to dabbing. I remember the first time I tried it, I met these dudes at Coachella that lived, so I got out of a cab, and this guy was like, "Hey man, do you have a grinder?" And I was like, "Yo, you don't sound like you're from here. Are you from Canada?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, I got a grinder for sure. I just bought one. Nobody here has one." And we smoked blunts all night. He had this weed called, it was Darth Vader OG, and I got Skywalker OG.
Yeah.
And we rolled it together, and it was called the Force. Anyways, we smoked blunts, made a great friendship.
Yeah.
And I went to Vancouver like 3 months after that. And this is when oil was becoming popular. This is like 2012. And all these like super limited drops were happening. And he was like, we were on Instagram or whatever, and I think it was Sunrise or THC in Vancouver. And they're like, "Yeah, we got half grams of this super rumple still skin lemon haze mega stomper butter or something." It was like so many names. We got this half gram, and it was just it changed my life. I bought a rig that day, like the V1 highly educated titanium nail that looks hilarious, and we dabbed it out, and like my life was forever changed. So then the next year, I'm on my way to Coachella, and I run into these dudes in a casino in Las Vegas, my homies that I had met through cannabis in Calgary. And they're like, "Yo, I was looking for cannabis." They're like, "Yo, we got a bunch of cannabis. Like, let's smoke you out." And I was like, "Okay, this is a great time in Vegas." Anyways, they're like, do you know this dude who's making shatter?" And I'm like, "No, I've never seen this dude before." And so they're like, "Look at what he's making." And it was incredible. Like the stuff he was making, it opened my eyes to like this crazy, crazy world of amazing high-end cannabis. And since 2013, I like only smoke flower on occasion. It's just all dabs or nothing. That cannabis had a weird storage issue. Some weird smells to it. When I first opened it.
Dude, this packaging's fucking whack.
I know you looked at the false bottom, didn't you? That's like non-recyclable plastic, man.
No way.
Well, because it's interesting because it has a narcotic in it. Or like a former narcotic.
Dude, like some fucking plants? Some plant matter in here?
And it's 1 gram in that huge package the size of your adult man fist.
You could fit like...
You can fit 4.5 grams there.
Yeah, like no problem.
Yeah, well, wait till you see this one.
This is very cigarette-like.
That one wasn't bad. I actually kind of like this packaging, to be honest.
Okay, cool.
And I gave that one...
That is not what I expected. I like expected like cigarettes or something.
Wouldn't that have been nice? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh.
That one actually smells pretty good.
Yeah.
And you know what was hard? So I gave that one a really good rating. Don't say what it is, because I haven't put it out on the channel yet.
Yeah, no worries.
But I'm kind of, like, I'm authentic about it, but I feel like I might have overrated it when I first talked about it. But it doesn't, like, you're not turning your nose up at it. You're sticking it back in.
No, it was really good. The initial smell was, like, excellent. That was really interesting. I liked it. I was like,
I gave it
and the pop sound.
Take the buds out and tell me what you think. Because so I gave this bud 86 points. But I'm kind of worried that I overgraded it. But at the same time, I'm looking at your reaction. You're a daily cannabis consumer. And and like, I don't know why I'm second guessing my review, because the nose knows. I know what I'm doing. I looked at the cannabis. I graded the cannabis. Is that 86 point cannabis? That's an 8.5 out of 10?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I'd be happy if I got this. I wish there was more of it in here.
We're going to smoke it right after.
I wish that was filled to the top. That would be.
I know, because the package is still pretty big.
Like, it's like, and this is like the option, right? Like, it doesn't come with more. There could easily be 3 times that amount in there.
Yeah, that should be the same size for an eighth. But then you look at this. Don't open this one. But that is an eighth. So you have a 1 gram and an eighth, and I assumably.
This is an eighth?
Yeah, and assumably those were packaged.
You fit an ounce in here.
Yeah, assumably those were packaged by the same people. Don't open that one though. Yeah, okay. And but like, this packaging looks like it was sold by the same people, right?
Yeah.
That's huge. That is like.
Dude, yeah, this is like, I would expect an ounce. Or at least a half ounce.
That looks like a half ounce container to me. I would like to open that and have a nice glass is not allowed. Yeah. But I would think I would open that and have a nice half ounce glass thing. Like, it looks so classy in the box. If it's
like the branding's really cool on this.
Well, and you know what's interesting though? The size of the box, because you're not allowed to have your logo bigger than the THC symbol.
Yeah.
Maybe the size of the box has something to do with shelf presence.
For sure. Yeah, I guess.
But people don't get to see this until it comes out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this is the other one.
He just starts laughing. It stinks.
Dude, I couldn't get a good smell because I'm still laughing at how such a tiny amount is in here.
Yeah, because it's a huge
is this
jar.
Legit?
Yeah, I think that one fits 6 grams probably. I bet
but
you.
This is like the amount.
That's 1 gram. Yeah.
Dude, it's so underwhelming.
I know, you open it and it's like the smallest dick you've ever seen. It's like watching porn with a tiny wiener.
Oh my god, man.
Nobody wants to do that.
It does smell nice.
I don't think that one smelled. I don't know. I don't want to suggestively tell you, but I didn't rate that one good. I thought it smelled like kind of like dry hay, and I said it smelled like the Michael's flower store, like, like it smells like dusty fake plants.
It's very dry.
Maybe I'll send you home with some weed, cannabis. I've been thinking about.
What store did you get this? Have you been to one of the Calgary Co-op ones?
Yeah, I went to Calgary Co-op once, twice, I think, maybe actually now. Site.
So when you get weed, you buy this. You go like, how much is this?
That one was probably like $11 or $12. I know your deep swallow says it all, because you were talking about all the free cannabis I get. And then it's like, yeah, to review legal cannabis or like fully legal cannabis, I'm spending a lot of money out of the pocket for crap.
Dude, man. That's like hard to like comprehend that, man. Like, and what are the other ones? Are they all $11?
No, that blue one's 15, and I think this one was 13.
Crazy,
but these eighths over here that you're looking at, like, they were expensive. One of them was like $50 for the eighth.
What the fuck?
I think it's the one in the huge box. Well, let me look. I should have the receipt.
Nice bags.
Oh yeah. So it was $84 for both the receipts, or for 2 eighths.
Crazy.
And they didn't give me a detailed receipt, which actually kind of upsets me, because then I can't review it on Lyft.
How much was it?
$84 for 7 grams.
And on the black market, that's an easy 40-50.
It's $50.
Like, if you, I'd say $50.
But to pay $34 more, and this was like, these two are supposed to be like topper shelf.
Okay.
So for $84, it's whatever. Like, you go to California or Illinois or any of these places,
Yeah.
and you want to buy an eighth of top shelf cannabis, but that cannabis is better quality than this. You're paying that kind of like $60 an eighth, which is $80 Canadian for an eighth.
You know what? I recall going to the I think it's called Canna Clinic or whatever in Nelson for over the last like 3 years. And that place was good. They had like fresh buds, like in big jars, and you could buy it to
Because
weight.
it's an illegal dispensary.
Yeah. Well,
those were the days.
It was, I guess, does it exist anymore? Do you know?
I was reading about one in Kitsilano in Vancouver. So there was a Kamloops store, there's a Point State something store that were the first BC licensed cannabis stores. But then I guess on January 5th, Vancouver dispensaries that were already operating started being granted licenses. But I was confused by the pictures in the story if they were only selling like legal cannabis or if they were still supporting the growers that had been supporting them through their operations since 2015. So I'm still very confused. I know that everybody has been sent a cease and desist in Vancouver that's operating illegal dispensaries, which is somewhere selling cannabis that isn't tagged and regulated by the government. So
crazy, man. That's kind of like a sad thing, dude. I really enjoyed that dispensary. The customer service was good. The prices were fair. They had like sodas and edibles and
just
lots of different bud.
Give it 10 years and those people can pay taxes and be like normal members of society, because that's the hard part, right? They were probably evading tax and like they're selling drugs to people. Now that we have a regulated system, not that it's perfect, but as the kinks get worked out, they can be viable business owners. And if they weren't the right people to run that business, then other people who are the right people to run that business will take their place, that are going to do it better. Like, there's a lot of shitty liquor stores and there's a lot of great liquor stores.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I hope someday it's a little more
Inclusive.
Just better than like what you have here. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of the option from a cannabis store, right?
Yeah, right now, what you're looking at, like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 products,
like,
it's a pretty good gamut of what's at the cannabis store.
Like, it would be cool, like, you know, pre-rolled things, like,
there are
you know,
pre-rolls,
fun things,
yeah.
like other like sodas, like, you know, craft stuff, like, oh, it's made in Nelson here or something, and, you know, it's like $1 deposit and they reuse their bottles, like stuff like that.
By
I hope
October
comes
17th
out.
is the latest that they have to legalize edibles and extracts.
The latest. So if they don't, then what?
Because it's written into the Cannabis Act that they have 1 year to put that stuff into play. So that's why there's already the proposed regulations out for edibles and extracts that you can comment on in Health Canada. So you should go do that and tell them that they should sell more than 10 milligrams in a single package, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But again, I think there's ways around it. But what they're proposing seems ludicrous. But again, if I'm imagining like a Werther's type thing. If you buy a bag of Werther's, those are all individually packaged. As long as you had the THC symbol and all the stuff on each single one of those packages, you could put it inside of another bag up to 1,000 milligrams. But, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's not so bad. If you could have like single, like, you know, you picture now you get a bag of candies, there's like 10 in there and there's like maybe 100, 150, 200 milligrams, whatever. But like, I mean, if they were all individually wrapped and like the idea is to keep like people safe, like that's not really I'm cool with that, because like taking edibles, especially for your first few times or children or something, can be like a pretty shitty experience.
Well, 10 milligrams is useless though. Right, and to sell like one packaged good as 10 milligrams and be like imagine you had to take home, I don't know, like a hot sauce or a thing of mixed nuts or a cola or anything, and it only had 10 milligrams in it. Like,
yeah, I'd want at least like 40, 50.
Yeah, and if you're gonna have a 10 milligram item, shouldn't it be like 10 milligram?
Oh yeah, I'm like not even thinking about like, you know, a cookie or something else that maybe.
Yeah, that's eating way too much food to get your dose.
Yeah.
So, but you're allowed to have 1,000 milligrams in a liquid, like a liquid extract. So you're allowed to sell like a vial of coconut oil with 1,000 milligrams in it and just get people to hit droppers. But it's not allowed. The dropper isn't allowed to draw more than 10 milligrams worth of in a dose. Is their proposed regulation, which just seems so asinine. Like
I feel like, you know, you can go out and get like Everclear or something, and that's like a very dangerous alcohol to drink.
This was exactly my parallel that I gave.
Like very dangerous.
Yeah, and it sells like crazy around Christmas because everybody's making their own home liquors and then giving it out to their family.
Yeah.
Yet edibles, like, you know, I got a call. Sarah got a call, and they were like telling us they were going to threaten charging us with trafficking for an infused dinner. Right? And it's like the infused dinner between 10 people, officer has like 100 milligrams in it through 5 courses. Like the irony of you calling and saying that you're going to charge us with trafficking for selling a micro-dose dinner is just literally unfathomable, especially when we think about the fact that you can Google buy weed Calgary right now, choose any of the first 30 hits, send them money, and weed's going to show up at your house, either by a guy or in the mail in the next
that doesn't
day.
make any sense, man. Like, but you could pour endless cocktails.
I can fill my house.
Everybody could be passed out with like alcohol poisoning, and you're still like whatever.
Well,
right?
that's against my duty of care, but we can only buy 30 grams of cannabis, but you can spend $1 million at the liquor store.
Yeah.
You could literally rent a U-Haul truck and get them to keep filling it and filling it.
And it just like, it doesn't make sense. You know, like I remember an experience I had when I was about 16, like I started drinking young. I think my mom gave me my first beer at like 12 without any real guidance. So we were drinking like quite a bit on the weekends and stuff. And I remember grade 9 grad, I drank 2.6 of vodka and like a few revs. And I like fucking passed out in like a baseball field, and my friends got me home. And I was like, I remember struggling to breathe at home, like, and passing out.
Yeah, because you had alcohol poisoning.
Because I had alcohol poisoning. And like, I like was so scared to tell my mom, and like, you know, like, people, like, you can die from that. Like, that's
your
like
friends didn't want to get in trouble
thing, man.
And
Nobody want to get in trouble
for you.
Whatever, right? And like, you know, like if somebody kid were to consume like too much cannabis, it's not lethal.
They're gonna fall asleep.
That's the
with Doritos all over their chest.
And you know, like, I'm not saying that like the experience of being too drunk is like, that was mortifying because I was unconscious, right? But I've greened out from eating too many edibles. Like, I have like abused what I should have done and went into without any knowledge and just being a dick and
what
consuming
happened?
too much.
Yeah,
I threw up, had a serious panic attack. Like, I ended up going to the hospital, telling my girlfriend I'm like going nuts, like crazy, man. Like, just like lost it, and it ended up being fine. 4 a.m. You're laughing in the hospital, like whatever, right? And in hindsight, I ended up like purging a lot of like emotions that I had like deep inside of me that I wasn't resolving. So in the grand scheme of things, when I've greened out, and I've done it multiple times, I haven't gone to the hospital, but I've done it multiple times since.
Okay. And
it's always ended up being a good experience, and which is weird.
Tell me more about like greening out, because I don't really understand that concept all the way.
It's usually I think. And here's the thing why it's a good reason is it makes me go through some like memories and maybe like thoughts that I put back in my head or something. Like I had a really challenging upbringing between like bullying and like just didn't fit in certain areas of my life, and my home life wasn't the greatest. So I probably have like come up with these like deflection techniques or something, right? And sometimes greening out puts those all right to the front. I have like anxiety, and then I think about everything I really should be thinking about, and like, or things that like, you know, you build walls in your own like personal choices. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, you just default to certain things, and it's sort of like a glitch in your programming, and it puts it to the front. And it can be quite an experience to confront these patterns of choices or like thoughts or whatever, right? It's overwhelming. Throw up, have anxiety, shake, like, oh my God,
this is me on magic mushrooms.
the world is ending. And then it's always okay. And over the years, the maybe I've greened out like about 8 times over the last 15 years. And every time has become a lot easier to work through the emotions. And the thing is, whether I was greening out or not, I feel like those emotions are hard to work through. I've been to psychologists trying to like get through these things, and I haven't been able to, but the weed puts it there, and really actually makes me get through them. So I guess it's like a positive thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? And it's just, I mean, anything in life is about your outlook on something. And I could like look at this and be like, fuck weed, I'm never using it again or whatever. But like, I choose to take the positives from it.
Yeah, it's like
it's a plant medicine. Mushrooms can be like that. DMT.
Yeah, I was going to talk
about
the mushrooms.
Psychedelics.
It's like a lot of people could relate it to your experience as like a bad trip, and you're looking at it like, no, I brought all my emotional walls, brought them crumbling down, and I found places that I didn't want to be in, kind of like a psychedelic experience that I found comfort in once I confronted them.
It did what a psychologist couldn't do. The psychologist couldn't get me to like confront those. One did, and it was very powerful and emotional. And it's the same experience I have with weed. Yeah, it like acts as like a psychologist. It does some like healing for me.
I want to tell a story. I did mushrooms. Man, this was probably like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I haven't taken like 2 grams of mushrooms in a long time, because I feel like mushrooms really react with me a bunch.
Crazy.
So I did all the right things. Like I did all the pre-nomers, and I did like a chocolate blend and ground it up and like made like a good experience. And luckily Sarah, it was her first time doing mushrooms. She did it with me. I'm sorry if you didn't want me to tell the story. Anyways, I was the one who had pitched the mushrooms and like that we should do them. And, I have my own stuff. And so these mushrooms start hitting, and like my biggest fear is like puking and shitting while I'm on psychedelics. And I just like start feeling so sick. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. And then it's like a waterfall of psychedelia. Like the world is melting around me. And luckily Sarah's so strong. And I'm like so weak in this moment, because like they're being my teacher, and I'm walking around like probably half naked with my hands on my hips, being like, the mushrooms are trying to teach me a lesson. The mushrooms are trying to teach me a lesson. And I'm basically having like a full-on panic attack as I'm going through a waterfall of psychedelia. And I lay in bed, and it literally feels like this. Well, this is my psychedelic illusion. I thought a massive woman sat on me, like right on my chest. It felt like a heavy, heavy weight on my chest. So heavy, like I could barely breathe. And it felt like, and I don't know why I describe it as a woman, but I feel like I thought it was a woman. And then it ripped into my stomach and started like pulling out these feelings of like panic and insecurity and like stress. And after dealing with like the most gut-wrenching, like terrible feeling of not being able to breathe, I ended up in complete euphoria.
Oh my God.
It really, like the next few months, one of my oldest memories is like the feeling of like butterflies and stress, and bless you. And for probably like 6 months, I didn't have any of those feelings anymore. But like that experience has scared me since from doing mushrooms, because it was like it could have been perceived as a bad trip, but it was the most healing thing that I've done in like a long time.
Crazy, man. That's really tight.
Yeah, but I'm like scared right now. Like I would like to feel that same relief, but I'm scared to like be in that moment, even though I know I'm completely safe.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, like, yeah, the experiences can be pretty profound.
And that was 2 grams of mushrooms. And I know people tell me they eat a quarter ounce all the time, and 2 grams of mushrooms rocked my world.
Yeah, you know what, man? It depends. Like, I've eaten 7 grams and like lost my mind. I've eaten like 2 grams and been like very high. I've eaten like 1 stem before and had like a fantastic buzz.
I ate a gram, watched Prisoner of Azkaban, and vomited. And it was like I was vomiting up all of my anxiety again.
crazy.
It's so weird.
You know what? They've been making me sick to my stomach for the last like year or whatever. I actually.
Oh, really?
Like not like I don't throw up, but I definitely feel like my stomach is like uneasy, which kind of sucks. I do like doing acid, but it's just like such a long commitment. And when I take acid, I like to take like 2, 3, 4, even like 5 hits over the course of like 24 hours and like really go into it.
You're intense.
But that's not like really a thing you can do in like your home. It's just like weird at a music festival or in the wilderness is like a way different story. It's like once a year. I think I don't know. We'll see. Even if I continue to do this, I feel like the door is open and I kind of got the answers I wanted. And sometimes I feel like if people do a little too many psychedelics, they can kind of start.
Things can slip.
Things can like slip.
Yeah, your gears can start turning in some weird directions.
Mm-hmm.
The thought pattern is pretty crazy.
It changes the way you perceive things, and it definitely has had a very profound effect on my happiness in like the most positive way, because I perceive reality different and react to it differently.
Not that we promote drug use on this podcast, but
no, yes, of course. But yeah, it's definitely made me make better choices. It's made me aware of things, and I've realized that I could like get to my potential if I was more aware of these choices and were better off making them. Like it made them more frequently, and nobody, like, I'm not perfect, man. Like I struggle with actually eating sugar. That's like the thing that I fucking struggle with. And I've been on a good course, like losing weight, and I've lost 15 pounds, but it's taken me like years of like trying to figure this out. And only recently I've like had some success with it. But yeah, more often than not, like, I do make better choices, and that's why I don't do drugs. That's why I don't watch TV like we talked about earlier, because for me that's not a good choice, because I spend all my time working on my music and promoting my brand and networking, and all of those choices is like led me to kind of be like ultra efficient. Like,
yeah, if you're failing and you're watching even half hour of Netflix,
so what I do, like, I actually work from 8:30 every day till about 11 at night. Like 7 days a week, like
beast mode,
you know. And like, even if I'm like out at a show, I'm networking. Like I just like, and it's not like a job where you're like serving burgers and you're physically getting tired. I'm like, a lot of conversations is like the work that I do, or like, you know, being in front of a computer making music.
You're telling me.
Yeah, so you know lots about it. But yeah, doing psychedelics have like led me to see that potential. Like I just work on my goals like constantly, and like come up with new goals too, like weekly, monthly, yearly. Like I'm like 10 years out to where like all these fractals of goals are going to take me, and I'm not going to meet all of them. That's unrealistic. But if I have like, you know, 5,000 goals, like I'm sure I can like reach a lot of them. And I know some people don't have any. Like, how fucked up is that?
Yeah.
Like, people that are bored. I've seen people posting about being bored, man. Have you experienced boredom in a while? I haven't personally experienced boredom in a couple of years. It's weird.
I can tell you the last time I was bored, and it was like the month before somebody showed me the Somm documentary when I got into wine. I was like sitting around on EI, you know, doing unsavory things, and I was bored. I would get up in the morning. And you know what's funny is I was writing music then too, and
Yeah.
I'd write music for like 3-4 hours. And you know, I got to a point. This is like when we first met actually, and I was writing like a tune in like 2 or 3 hours, and it was like whatever, pump it out. I can't remember who the guy that said you should do that was. Anyways, and I was so bored. I would write a tune from like 10 till 1, and then I'd sit there for hours watching Netflix.
Oh my god.
Yeah, smoking cannabis,
Dude.
doing nothing. And it was literally like I'd been doing that for close to a year, writing a tune a day almost, or working on tunes, and then sitting around for like 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours watching Netflix. Sarah would get home, and then I'd sit around on the couch for like another 5 hours, stay up late, get up at 10 in the morning, work on tunes. And then I was like, honestly, and anybody that listens to me, you know, I just really got excited. I get excited about ideas, but people are lazy. Everybody's lazy. I'm lazy too. But I got shown wine, and I got excited about wine, and I literally took a class 4 days later.
Have you ever told this story?
About like sitting
About
around.
where, like, about like how you even got into this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
you
I
have?
tell people that I saw a documentary
Yeah.
called Somm, and I got this idea.
It's just,
went
it's
into it.
interesting you talking about it now because I recall this because it's like when I met you, just like went and did it. Anyways,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut in. It's
No.
just like amazing thinking about this now because I like seen your progression. It's gnarly.
It was right when we met because all I was trying to do was like sit around, smoke weed, and network, and like try and sell people my shitty tunes that I listen back on, and I'm like, fuck, you barely worked on this. Like, this could have been so much better had you put the more effort into it. And yeah, that's right when we first met. And then like we met, and I left the vineyard, and here we are, 3 years later, 3.5 years later, and like, you know, things changed. I went from a sales background to being able to like really amalgamate expertise in wine, and I've always been into cannabis, and now I do the two things I'm like really passionate about. I never thought
Man,
I'd like wine.
When you compared your knowledge to cannabis and the parallels in wine and your excitement in it, I remember being like, wow, there's like an entire like fused market here that's gonna like blossom, because it was like very ahead of like what was happening now, what's taking place now. And it's gnarly because it was like, it was definitely a far out idea. It was the first time I've ever heard of it. Cannabis infused like gourmet food and like wine and cannabis. And I was like, holy shit, that sounds wicked, man. I hope that becomes a reality. And you're like, oh, buddy, it is. And I was like, yeah, like sick, dude. Like, I believe you. You got me. I was like stoked. I left. I've told people the story of it. And like now it's like happening.
It's so trendy.
This is nuts.
It's literally the future of dining. West Hollywood just got their first like cannabis consumption restaurants. It's gonna be all over the world. It's
It's a great experience for people, and it's like safe.
Yeah,
it's a safe, really nice experience that can be like tailored to like be like top notch. But like regular people with like not big budgets can, like, you can take it anywhere, just like food, wine, anything. It's gnarly.
Yep, and I loved hearing you tell that, because I remember sitting at Chibo on like a mandate like 3.5 years ago, and like being all stoked up on this idea because I'd literally just got the idea. And
yeah, it was gnarly. It made so much sense. It didn't sound crazy. I was like, you're so fucking right.
And all you got to do is just work jobs for other people for a little bit and get that knowledge. Because anybody, you know what? Here's the thing. I want to talk about this. You can't just be an entrepreneur out of school. Like, you don't get to just go to school, never have a job, and then like create your own business. Sure, it might work for some people, but like if you don't have the experience, you said I've sold $150 million of produce. Like, that's gangster. But you don't get that opportunity if you had come out of school and been like,
no, I walked into it just like, I worked at Superstore when I was 16. I was like, I quit grade 12 and got into like an alternate education program through my vice principal. And it was like art infused learning about yourself to like prepare you for the world of working. And then I got a job at Superstore, and I was like, I'm like tried so hard. I was like on time, and like I went back to school and got good grades and got a bunch of like grants and shit for school. I was like doing good there, but like really like was like, I want to be like a grocery manager for some reason. I don't know. I was like, this sounds like a good thing. And they're like, you're too young. So at 18, I like moved out here. And like started at 19, I moved out here. 2008, started at a Superstore, and like walked in and was like, yo, I have like some experience, but like I'll do whatever it takes. Like I'll like work graveyard shifts, 12-year hours, like whatever. I have nothing here. I like moved here with a backpack, and like I sleep on a mattress that I pulled out of the dumpster, dude. Like it's covered in cardboard. Like I'd rather be here, dude. And he's like, wow, you're nuts. And I was like, when can I start? He's like, yeah, in like a few days we got to get your like shit done. I was like, well, I'm going to go to Zeller's and get some like black pants and come and help you for the rest of the afternoon. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, man. So I like started helping, and I was like, I'll be back tomorrow. And he's like, whatever. Like, obviously you're not going to not show up. And I was like, yeah, I'll show up. Like, fuck, see ya. And I just kept working like that. And I worked like that for like a year and a half, and then went from like 19-year-old nobody to like leading this, like, man, I was like assistant manager, and then in the union, and then I became like a salaried manager out of the union, like, in his like assistant Michael. And dude, we had like crazy increases and grew that business to like from like 275,000 a week to like 350, and that was like big numbers like back in 2008. And then I took over the department within like 2 years. It was like good money. With the garden center in the summer, I think the teams were like 50 people large. Wow. Like I had an assistant that was like 50. And I was like 21 years old.
And the stuff you learned, the knowledge that you collected.
Dude, the amount of like the volume there was like nuts. And then later in my career, I went to City Market and worked at like their independent franchise side of the business. And like it was like a conventional shop, not discount like Superstore or Walmart. And that was interesting. And then I've since moved to like that independent grocer, and it's just been like such a transition of stuff. And then we're, you know, helping out with my girlfriend's food truck. I don't even think we like talked about that, but I've like helped them decide menu and everything on this food truck. And the Crooked Crepe, it's fusion crepes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I almost want to leave on that note because I feel like this is a good length for podcast.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
You know, you crushed it. You chose something that you wanted to do, and your knowledge like, now, like
getting all the different experiences and like trying, like it's all the produce and selling stuff and business and networking through business has been like leading me in music now. I'm using those same techniques. And you were saying like somebody out of school, it's like all about just getting like little bits of experience, learning from somebody like you've inspired you getting that idea of is like, holy shit, like this guy like figured something out before it happened and believed it, and now he's doing it. Like little inspirations like that. Like people need to surround themselves with like hardworking, inspired people.
I appreciate that. And it's hard to surround yourself with people. Making friends is so hard, but but
when you make a good friend, like I said, like you're a good friend, I trust you, I love you, I wish you nothing but happiness, and like I've only really hung out with you like 10 times,
and I love you too. I talk about you all the time. I feel like I know you so deeply.
And when you find good friends, man, it's just like that, you know. And then you just get more the more you put into it, making good choices, networking positively.
Well, you know what, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me on the podcast. I honestly am so excited for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, for us to listen back on this conversation.
Yeah.
And just to see where things went.
Where we both are, man.
It's going to be so cool. I know big things are in your future. You've got some releases coming up, and you've got some stuff signed, and lots of music coming out. So tell everybody one last time before we let them go where they can find you and where they can find all your music, and break it down.
I'm on Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, Facebook. It's all Small Beats, one word. I guess.
How you smell it?
Small Beats, SMOL, small, I guess. Small Beats, BEATS. I got some releases coming out on Rapture Studios, my own label, DU Digital, Remix, Offect. It's kind of endless. I've had so many opportunities, but yeah, man, thank you so much for having me on this. It's been very enlightening to talk about all these things. I feel like energized for the rest of my day.
Oh, I love it, and I can't wait to put this out, and I hope it pumps other people up. So let's have a cheers, and I'll let everybody go. And thanks so much for chatting.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.